Welcome back, everyone, to VCS English. We're getting ready to head into our second series of the day, Saigon Buffalo taking on Team Secret. I'm still Milky Cereal, but Mabinogi has evolved, has morphed into your way.
Hello. I finally stepped out of the shadow of just producing and decided to also cast and flame Milky a bit because Marby let him off way too easily. So here we are.
I didn't say that many stupid things. I said some stupid things.
But we have a super important series on our hands here. Saigon Buffalo against Team Secret. I'm not entirely sure what was so funny about that one, but fair enough.
It was just the way you left me hanging. It's like, I didn't say that many stupid things, did I? And then you were just like... Anyway, so talking about Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret, we have to talk about the last series they had against SBTC. SBTC were third in the split. Team Secret brought in their fourth, and I want to say after that series, their final jungler,
Hopefully.
Shang. And he was insane.
He looked very good. And more importantly than him individually stepping up was the team looked much more cohesive. The team looked much more like the team we saw last year, where they were contesting for second place. Played against Saigon Buffalo in big, important series and, looked competitive. So, much better performance from the whole team. And certainly the best of the four junglers so far. Now, he has only played 2 games. And maybe not against the strongest of jungle opponents, in my opinion. But Guri also, on the other side, is still a rookie. So this could be the battle of the jungle rookies. Who can be the next big person, the next big thing, the next big jungler in the VCS?
And when we do look at the VCS as a whole, obviously you think to great Vietnamese junglers. You've got the likes of SOFM, of course, Levi still with Gan, the most successful jungler in terms of the VCS. But then recently we've had more junglers coming in. You think of Beanjay, had an incredible 2022. Being benched now for Saigon Buffalo, you think to the likes of Ego, won the split with Cerberus, now being benched for a variety of reasons. You think of Killer Queen, someone who's got an insane ceiling, but then also has an insane floor as well, but in a bad way. Can Shang be, the one to maybe just have a little bit more success, maybe a bit more consistency than those other 3?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. His first series was promising, but only 2 games, and the 2 champions he's played are not really telling of anything either. They're the most standard champion you can ever pick in this meta, right? Vi and Wukong. Much different than Guri, actually, on this other side. I want to hone in on this jungle matchup, because it's an entirely different matchup compared to the first time these 2 teams played against each other, and there are a lot of other factors that are different. Patch, better studio, better connection, and so on. So I'm kind of wiping that first series out of my mind because it was very strange and had a lot of things going on. So now Guri and hopefully Chung, we don't actually know, are going to play against each other today. And Guri came in as this farming jungler. I know Rebel actually researched him quite a bit and was always promoting him as this carry jungler style, farm up on the Talia, on the Nidalee and stuff like that, on Lilia, and try to carry the team. He has tended to actually go into more early game / ganking junglers. His most played are Lee Sin and Gragas, so different champions from the side of, well, we have only seen 2 games of Chung, but yeah, he played the Wukong and Vi, so I'm very curious to see what these 2 teams decide to do for their new junglers. Do they actually try to counterpick, give them a little bit of a better matchup, try to tilt the opponent, because, well, it's their rookie season. If you tilt Xiang, if you tilt Guri, maybe it's an easy way to victory for either of these teams. So my eyes are firmly on that jungle matchup.
And while the jungle matchup is going to be incredible, and I do think that is the main focus, we have somewhat of a contrasting style in the jungle, but I feel like everywhere we have a completely contrasting set of players. You look up towards the top lane, you look at Harsmed and Hero, and 1 year ago, I would have said these 2 players play very similarly. We know Harsmed for the likes of his Aatrox, his Akali, his Kennen. This season, though, bit more towards tank duty, struggling more in lane, looking like a shadow of his former self. Hero, on the other hand, the most lane dominant top laner, has a better goal difference at 15 than even Kiaya, and that's on Gam, who haven't lost a single series this split.
Yeah, and Hero actually came in and struggled a bit at the start of the season. If you think back to the days where Team Secret even lost to Flash, he was kind of manhandled by Yoshino, right? He didn't really do much. But in the last series against Enper, of all people, who's known to be a very good laner as well, maybe not quite as dominant in terms of wave control, but very good in terms of 1v1 and his ability to find kills, Hero completely destroyed Amper. He put him to the ground. He had like 50 CS advantages in his games, and he showed us the glimpses of the hero we know, the lane-dominant player that can play the strong side, can actually just carry his team through split pushing as well. One of the better things about Team Secret is their understanding of late-game macro and how to where to put their players in terms of lane assignments and stuff. So as we head into draft right now, I'm also super curious what the teams are going to decide in terms of top lane matchup.
And as we do head into draft, just one final point I do want to bring up, which is what you're talking about Team Secret's understanding of late game macro, because that's been one of the issues for Team Secret, why they haven't looked as good as 2022. Their early games have always looked decent, but once they get to the late games, they just have been lacking that little something, and against SPTC, it seemed like they were able to find it. Into picks and bans, though, Team Secret banning away the Caitlyn, the Elise, and the Wukong.
And look at that, it's BeanJ back.
It is.
The bean has blossomed. It's warmer over here in Europe. Of course, in Vietnam, it was already quite warm, I assume. But we had this narrative about BeanJ not being able to function in winter because he needed the sun to grow. And it seems like BeanJ has finally come back into the roster. So we can expect a little bit more of a standard jungle style. He has also played 2 games of Nidalee already, and those 2 games actually were against Team Secret. So there might be the secret source here on the side of Saigon Buffalo with the Nidalee potentially coming back in.
And the cool thing with BeanJ coming in to replace Guri is it doesn't really change our narrative heading into this game around our junglers. And again, going back to 2022, when Team Secret and Saigon Buffalo were hands down the second and third best teams in the league, they probably had the best 2 mid-jungle duos. And it was something that I brought up when we saw Team Secret against SBTC. How will Shang fit in with Artifact to be, one of the strongest mid-jungle duos in the VCS? Shogun and Taki, though, Varus Ashe locked in the bottom lane, a lot of pressure available for our SGB bot lane duo.
Yeah, and in my opinion, this has been the strongest point of SGB in all the recent games. The bot lane 2v2 has looked incredible. Taki, with some of the things Taki does are just so insane. Some of his flashes. Go back and watch the series against, I think it was Cerberus earlier this week. Taki went off. He was amazing. So, unfortunately, Saigon Buffalo actually lost that series. They should have won. They were very far ahead against Cerberus, but that put them pretty far down in the standings. And this series, we haven't actually talked about implications, but this series is so important for both of these teams. So it's even more important to look at a good draft at the start of this first game that could decide the whole fate of both of these teams, sitting at 3 and 5 at the moment. You see, blue side. Wait, it's Kratos in top lane. I just noticed. It's not Hero. Wow, so the 2 matchups we talked up and talked a lot of interesting stuff about are not actually happening. So, yay. I'm not sure why Hero was so good the last time they played. Maybe he's sick, hopefully not. So Kratos is in here. Kratos, Xiang, and Artifact. So this kind of gives me the feeling that they want to play a special combo in top and jungle, because 2 new players coming in could have something cooked up there. Sejuani, of course, sets up a lot of melee champs. Irelia combos come to mind. Yone combos come to mind. So I'm interested to see what they want to play. Could also be the Jace in the top lane. Jace, of course, flexible between mid and top lane. But yeah, 2 mid laners bent away from Saigon Buffalo, so I think Saigon Buffalo think this Jace might go into the top lane.
And actually, when you look towards Froggy has 2 gains on the Jace. He's actually played more Jace this split than Harsmed. Team Secret, though, locking in the Jace for themselves. We'll see whether Artifact wants to play it into Froggy's Ahri, or whether we'll see something more like his Azir maybe coming through in the mid lane, as once again we're seeing this Jhin Zhao that is starting to pop up in the VCS meta.
And a big BJ champion. He was always good on this champion.
Yes.
So, not very surprising. I think Jhin Zhao, a little bit of a feast of famine champion, but can have good teamfight impact as well, defensively and offensively. If you play a double ADC composition like this one, he could actually just peel for his 2 AD carries. So definitely nice, versatile champion. Kind of B-tier jungler right now. This one is the big one.
Ooh.
I actually really hate the cannon here because you have a Sejuani first pick and you pair her with no melee champs. That's one big gripe I have with a lot of VCS drafts, where I see this really horrible thing they do. Sejuani into no Sejuani partners. And she actually has a really bad win rate in our league, I think 39%, which is surprising for such a good champion. That's one of the reasons why, because her early game pressure is so much better if you pair her up with nice engage champions that can possibly start her combo, something like Silas, something like Jonas I talked about earlier. So a little bit annoyed at this Cannon pick here. Now we have Cannon against the Cannon Master himself, Hasmid, so he should know what to pick into this champion.
He's going to be picking up the Cassante, or we are going to see a Malphite just like we saw from Yoshino earlier on today. Didn't quite work out, although the pick itself I don't think was the issue. One thing though about the Kennen Yulwei that I do like is not the fact that it's the Kennen locked in, it's the fact that Jace is going into the mid lane. And I'm very excited to see how Artifact is going to use the Jace, and I think this does suggest as well that we're going to be seeing a lot of Shang looking towards the mid lane, which is what we've been talking up, how strong Shang and Artifact are and need to be for Team Secret to be successful in the VCS.
Yeah, I think they could have made Shang's job a little bit easier, as I said before. The Sejuani setup, why don't you just play normal Sejuani comps VCS? Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, the priority on Sejuani is high because she pairs so well with all those melee carries. And if you don't pair her up with them, then she kind of loses a lot of her power. But let's see what he can do. Another standard jungler to see. So he's really the least exciting rookie coming in terms of champion pool. But he doesn't need to be. Just needs to be the stable force, the one that brings Team Secret through the early game into a stronger mid-game setup and gives Artifact, Eddie, and apparently Kratos this game time to express themselves on the Rift, because they are good players. We know this team can be very strong in team fights and even better in terms of objective setups and lane control.
I've just realized as well, Yulwei, Shang could quite possibly be the prophesized jungler, the jungler to bring balance to the VCS, because he has not done what every other VCS jungler has had to do, which is show their competency on Lee Sin. Is Shang going to be our jungler who doesn't play a single game of Lee Sin all split?
No. That's not possible. Unless it's banned every game, which is, I guess, is the higher likelihood, yeah. But I don't believe a VCS jungler doesn't play Lee Sin until I see the whole split being done. That's just not possible.
I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what can come through. Let's talk as well about your least favorite champion in the game, Jhin. Locked in for Eddie, which is weird because if you told me a Jhin was locked in this series, I actually would have said, oh, Taki's playing Jhin support because he's already played 3 games of it in the support role. But it is Eddie on the champion, and I don't really see this Jhin performing particularly well, at least in the laning phase, against the amount of poke that Shogun and Taki have at their disposal.
Yeah, the biggest... I mean, in lane it should not do much, but Jhin is pretty good at just neutralizing lane and not doing much in the laning phase and going even in CS. So in terms of that, it's decent into the likes of Varus and even Ashe. So for laning phase, I think it's a decent pick, but of course I hate Jhin in the late game because he's just not a real AD carry. And you play this game against Malphite, the 500 armor champion. So that's going to be fun to look at in the late game, especially if Jhin is not very far ahead and Malphite is not super far behind. Then Malphite is just going to stay on top of the Jhin for however long it takes to kill the Jhin. There's no way a Jhin can ever cut through a Malphite, so that's a concerning thing. On the other hand, though, Team Secret does have other damage sources and strong damage sources in that, right? So it's not the most horrible Jhin pick ever. We still have a top laner that deals very good AoE damage, especially later on. And of course, Artifact on the Jace can be the main carry in teamfights too. So while I always hate the Jhin pick, I think in this composition it makes a little bit more sense than in some of the others we've seen.
And I do just want to very touch on something cool that Taki does. And I feel like every time we see Taki playing, every time we see Saigon Buffalo playing, we always find something that we praise Taki for. I just really like how he instantly trades onto Eddie and Zhu Hao, pops the barrier as well, so he takes no damage, and he says, look, my barrier's going to be up soon anyway. I'll just take this quick health advantage right at the start of lane.
Yeah, a lot of people do this on the Ashe support. It's kind of gotten into the meta where everyone just spams level 1 barrier or level 2 barrier because it's, as you said, a very short cooldown, very favorable trading because the enemy team doesn't really get to put damage onto you at all through the barrier. And BeamJ's here, back in the lineup, annoys Eddie a bit.
It does scare Zhu Hao and Eddie away from picking up that ward trinket that was placed down. And overall, though, seeing nothing really too spicy coming through. It's just been the Saigon Buffalo, the Saigon bottom lane.
Yeah.
Just getting themselves a bit of pressure in the mid lane, and we're still waiting to really see Shang look towards Froggy in this mid lane.
Okay, so now we have a little bit of time to talk about standing implications and the overall state of the league right now, right? So we saw Cerberus just, oh, never mind, we don't.
No, we don't. Flash engage coming through from Shang. First blood picked up by the Team Secret rookie jungler.
And we have to say something about Taki here, stepping up too far and into the Nautilus grab with his flash available. He probably thought, okay, it's fine if I get grabbed because we still out-trade with our heal available and so on. But of course, if the jungler is there, he just dies. Taki, a little bit too much hubris. Walking, yeah, that is just... Even if the jungler is not there, honestly, that's a really bad trade. So Taki just overstepping his welcome a bit, as we have the counter here.
Eddie flashing away out to safety just about. Somehow, Eddie does survive, but is forced to burn that summoner spell.
And that's 2 flashes now. I mean, the first flash for Shang was actually in his gank, but now 2 flashes down means potentially an advantage for Saigon Buffalo in the first big team fight. 8 minutes at Herald comes to mind, maybe even at Dragon. Little trade. His artifact goes super aggressively in hammer form. Look at the damage.
Of course he does. Sidesteps on the Q, and I thought he was going to get enough autos to get a kill onto Froggy, but he gets enough autos just to flex on him.
Really nice aggressive play. Good to see the confidence from the side of Artifact. Our MVP of Summer, such a good performance in the regular split. In Summer, of course, he's always a little bit down in players, you could say. Maybe not the most clutch player throughout his career, but usually a very strong contender for the mid lane pool in the VCS, and with the better end of the trade. Level 6 hit first as well, forcing Froggy back in lane. He doesn't even have teleport, so already used the teleport, Froggy. And he needs to be careful.
Froggy needs to be careful.
Yep.
Oh, Team Secret are looking for the ganker spanker.
No!
He tries to predict the movement from Froggy, but Froggy just doesn't move. Zhu Hao is so low.
Oh my
Is he going
word.
to survive? Zhu Hao doesn't. Froggy does. You can see what Zhu Hao was going for, but Froggy just did not react. Ice cool on the reactions.
Back to Lulu. Oh my word, that was just ugly from Zhu Hao. And this costs Eddie so much as well. Eddie can't play the game right now. He just has to go to the rest of this team, and the rest of his team is fighting.
And look who's here. Harsmed joins into the fray. BeamJ has fallen. It's a 1-for-1. Shang is left with nowhere to go. Eddie can't do anything on his own. And it's 2 kills for 1 for Saigon Buffalo.
And it's even worse than it looks on first glance. Because it's a 2-for-1 kill trade, but everything goes horribly, horribly wrong for Team Secret. As you said, Eddie just wasn't able to do anything in this fight and couldn't farm either. He's already 20 CS down. And it's good from Artifact to get at least 1 kill back, right? So it doesn't go 0 for 2 there. But look at this bot lane situation now. Look at the level difference. Look at the CS. Oh, Taki actually not trusting his own dodging. Activated the barrier. Just because he was a little scared of the burst from Eddie and Zhu Hao. But if we look at the gold lead, it's only 300. Interestingly enough, I think that's mostly Kratos having a CS advantage. But Saigon Buffalo on the bottom side is so much stronger now.
And Saigon Buffalo, we expected them to have this lead in the bottom lane, and maybe not as much as they already do at 7 minutes. First strike of the game is available for the taking. And with BJ hovering around this bottom side, just hoping that Zhu Hao gets a little bit too aggressive with one of those dredge lines.
7 minutes in, we're approaching that all-important 8-minute mark with the Herald coming up. BJ is only level 5. They would really like to have him at level 6 if they wanted to fight there. Shogun is 6 though, so he can set up something. BJ has been looking a bit out of sorts, a little bit out of position as well in this game. Very heavily playing towards the spot lane, which you understand, right? The spot lane is a very strong one, but not really contributing much to his team.
Saigon Buffalo, for now, I guess they can just take a little break. They don't have to do anything too aggressive. They've allowed Team Secret to make mistakes towards them. He has found a window to roam. We know how much he loves to roam. Good charm, but so much damage onto Shogun. It's a 1-for-1 in the bottom lane. Over the wall goes Froggy. Now looking towards Eddie. So much damage. Taki just tanking everything up for his mid laner. 2-for-1 in the bottom lane in favor of Saigon Buffalo.
Not the cleanest execution on the mechanics, but very good play in terms of setup and just going for the play in the first place. Bot lane dive, it's such a huge element of League of Legends in 2023, and they make it happen. Unfortunately, Shogun goes down early, so nothing really into Shogun's pockets, but at least Froggy is now accelerated Ari, and we know Ari from behind is barely a champion, and from ahead she can kind of run the game alone, so important to have early gold on Froggy, and he already found his first roam of the game.
2-0 and 3 for Froggy on this Ari. When we think about Ari, we don't really think of it as a Froggy champion. We tend to think of the likes of Glory and Artifact himself, but Froggy playing very well with the champion so far and has found a source of gold, even if it isn't from CS. Currently 20 CS down on Artifact.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he has been... I mean, he has been struggling in the 1v1, mostly due to Artifact actually playing really well, but he is again... Taki with a flash!
Flash forward to find the slow, potentially the turnaround though from Shang, and Taki just way too aggressive. It might just be the 1-for-1 overall. Good charm lands from Froggy. Over the wall goes Shang, but following goes BJ, and it is indeed a 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
That's just some raw, crazy rookie aggression there from the side of Shang. He looked at Taki, was like, okay, I can do the same. I can be just as crazy. They trade flashes and they trade lives, but that's the... Okay, what is happening?
Dredgeline under tower. Surely Froggy dies. There comes the final auto. It's a shutdown, but sadly the gold is claimed by Zhu Hao. Another 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
Yeah, and the gold is looks kind of close. Actually, Secret ahead in gold, but the gold allocation is really bad for them. All the gold always goes to their support. The support is now sitting at 2 kills and a shutdown, so that's a lot of gold into one of the least gold scaling supports in the game too. It's not even a Lulu or Soraka where you're like, okay, it's fine, you get your first item first. No, it's a Nautilus. That's just completely useless gold. And they lose, they continue to lose CS. Oh no, Taki might do that again.
Zhu Hao, the depth charge though is available. Chains of Corruption come through to lock Zhu Hao in place. But Eddie with the curtain call just gets given Taki on a silver platter. Taki now with 3 deaths this game. And I was going to say, you know, maybe this is just like how we're going to play in Clash later today, your way. You know, Zhu Hao missing all of the dredge lines just like I will, but still somehow getting all of the kills.
Great, thank you. I hate it. No, but I want to point out how well Team Secret has been able to punish Taki's aggression, because usually we're always so amazed at Taki, right? Because he finds those angles and he's insane. He has this insane mechanical prodigy and also very good at shot calling. But in this game, he has found the angles, but Team Secret has also been aware and just punished him every time he tried to go for something aggressive. They punished him in mid lane. Now they straight run into bot lane. They know that his flash is down because he flashed aggressively, because of course he did. He's Taki. So 2 kills for 1 flash, and they can maybe even get a 3rd one because his flash is only half of cooldown. So very good punish and focus on this Ashe.
And there's a lot of CS differences across the map as well. You look towards Kratos on this Kennen, nearly 20 CS up on Harsmed, big CS lead for Artifact in the mid lane, big CS lead for Shang as well on the Sejuani relative to Xin Zhao as the engage comes through from Froggy. Crystal Arrow doesn't land. That is so unfortunate for Saigon Buffalo.
Oh, that was almost perfect for Saigon Buffalo, and it's just inches away from securing them another kill on Shang. This game is so exciting. This is some old school VCS action. and it never stops.
Dredgeline lands so much damage so quickly on Itaki. The cleanse and the final shot from Eddie will secure the kill. 2-1 on the Jin.
Yet another kill on Taki, yet another punish on his flash being down, and it seems like Team Secret is really picking the correct fights. They're now off to more than a 1k gold lead, almost 1.5, more than 1.5k actually, and with the kills transitioning over to the Jin, at least they have one, well, carry. I'd call it fake carry, but let's say carry, with a little bit of gold on him. And to be fair to him, it's also a Hasmid on the Malphite having to play into an AP carry. So in the mid game, this Jin will actually be able to deal some damage to the tank. I think later on, once there's one or two, or maybe even two armor items completed on Hasmid, then the Jin is kind of just gonna be sad. But at this point, he's actually doing alright.
I think once you get to that point, you're just really hoping that Kratos has enough damage on this cannon to get through the Malphite, or you can force Malphite into a side lane as Froggy forced to use the Spirit Rush out to safety. As Shang shows himself on the Sejuani, has that ultimate, has the engage available from the Arctic Assault, and Froggy taking no chances.
Let's take another look at the jungle matchup, because it's surprisingly Chiang with more than a 20 CS gold lead. BeamJ has just been running around trying to cover all his lanes, especially top, bottom, mid lane. All his lane is just a lie. Yeah, he has never been in top lane, but it's a Malphite, so you don't expect him to be there. But he has been in bot lane unsuccessfully so many times. The best bot lane gank was actually made by his mid laner instead. But BeamJ's stats look great. He's 2-1 and 2 in some of the team fights. He's quite behind, though, in terms of jungle rotations. And he's a level down to Chiang, which is mostly due to the fact that catch-up experience is helping him out here. But if he needs to farm some camps as well, because Xin Zhao, without gold, is not the greatest champion in the game.
And in the top lane, Kratos just able to pick up another tower plate. Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands, and there's just nothing Artifact can do. You're stunned for so long from the ult, and maybe Artifact needs to itemize towards the QSS.
That was just perfection. The Saigon Buffalo CC chain was unstoppable.
You know how myself and Marby, we were talking about the Keck W press R composition. Maybe this is the true press R Keck W composition from Saigon Buffalo, as BeamJ's just taking so much damage.
Oh,
Free kill,
Taki.
Dredgeline comes through, and now the follow onto Taki. Fifth kill, or fifth death of the game might be coming through as a curtain call from Eddie, just doing a little work onto the health bars as he tries to find that little slim banana shot.
Yeah, the curve was on there. That was super close from Eddie. So this game is just very interesting and confusing to cast, because so much is happening, which is always a good sign. Means both teams...
Oh, so it's VCS, okay.
True, but it's also a sign that both teams are able to make snap decisions all the time and just punish enemy teams' oversteps. And once again, there's Eddie's just one step out of line, instantly has to flash away, because there's so much CC, so much pick potential in all these champions, especially on the SGB side, that you have to be on your guard every single second of the game. So actually Team Secret walking away with a huge gold lead now, 2.5k, but against two dragons. And the next dragon is already going to be very important, because you don't want to give Mountain Drakes over to this SGB comp, and especially not over to Hasmid, because it's already hard to deal with the stone in the late game. But if he has two Mountain Drakes to top off his resistances, it's going to be almost impossible to kill him.
And kind of again talking about the standings as a whole and talking about Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret, these are two teams that kept their rosters the same. Yes, I know it's Kratos who's right now playing instead of Hero, Shang just joining into the roster, but otherwise these were two rosters that coming into the split, I think both teams planned on keeping the same as in 2022. Both of them struggling, which I think goes as a testament for how much the likes of SBTC, Team Wales have improved, Cerberus have improved as well, because even looking at this game, if we were in 2022, I don't think we'd say that, you know, this is a bad performance from either team. This is the kind of performance we'd expect from the two teams that were sitting second and third in the standings.
Yeah, and of course it's the fourth game of those two teams against each other this year, because they played the very first series, but it's kind of the first game in if you discount that series, which you can.
With these rosters.
Yeah, with these rosters too, but you can also put a huge caveat on that first series, because that was the series that gave us a lot of anxiety for the rest of the split. They actually improved so much, so it was only that one series, but it was just riddled with pauses. I think Carrix and I sat here for 4 hours. There was certainly more pause time than in-game time, much more, and we only played one series on that day because it was just too delayed. Yeah, and Saigon Buffalo, oh, there we go again. They found something.
Far forward, gets caught out by the Malphite ult. BJ ends up picking up the kill onto the cannon, and Team Secret are forced to retreat. No objective, though, for Saigon Buffalo to be able to capitalize on. Glacial Prison, though, does land into the Deadly Flourish. Now the Curtain Core, BJ taking a lot of damage, does not have an ult available. Taki, of all people, is the one at tanking these shots, and the fourth shot doesn't actually do that much work onto the Ash, and Shogun's piercing arrow does about double the damage of Eddie's fourth shot.
Yeah, still in love with how Secret is playing aggressively, even from numbers disadvantages, because they know that both ultimates are down for BJ and Husmit. So, and even Froggy used his ultimate for some reason to get there. So, even though it's a 5v4 on the map, there's not much Saigon Buffalo's top side can do without their ultimates. They are kind of just non-champions when they can't engage with those huge abilities, so Team Secret instantly punishes and almost forces the flash from BJ. Luckily this time around he was actually able to just walk away. And as we take a quick look at the vision setup for the Dragon, Saigon Buffaloes have invested so much for the bot side river, and it's gonna pay off in 30 seconds if they can hold their line here in the mid lane. They lost their tower, so in terms of towers, Team Secret actually in a better position, but with Varus Ash, it's very easy to contest mid wave. So Froggy roaming around, just kind of being a living ward here, and it's so hard for Team Secret to reconquer vision.
I do have a quick question for you, Yulway, before we talk about the Drake setup a little bit more, which is, what is this Yomu's Ghostblade for Eddie? Is this the new Jin build, or is this something bizarre?
Ooh. There we go. I don't think we have time to analyze items as we look for the engage.
Force is available for Harsmid if he does want to engage. Saigon Buffalo, though, just going to push in the mid lane. Dredgeland lands onto Harsmid, but so do the Chains of Corruption, and Juhao just takes so much damage. He's still alive! BJ's now the focus, but the piercing arrow finds the shutdown for Shogun.
Froggy used his ultimate. He's not really a champion right now. BJ also super low. Once again, the numbers advantage over to Saigon Buffalo, but better abilities available for Team Secret. They're not quite as ultimate reliant, and Kratos, the one champion that really relies on his ultimate, still does have it. So even though they win the fight in terms of numbers, I think Secret might be able to just walk away with the dragon. Saigon Buffalo doesn't agree with me, though.
Have to be careful, because the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and the Chains of Corruption will be up soon for Taki and Shogun respectively, and in the end both teams back away from the objective.
It's unfortunate that Team Secret doesn't seem to be assertive enough to punish these ultimate usages, because Froggy and BJ honestly weren't really much of a threat here, but Secret still punishing the recall timers for Saigon Buffalo. They might still walk away with the dragon. Important objective for the side of Secret.
Shang just having a little think about engaging onto Froggy. The charm comes through, tanked by Shang, an artifact. Very good reaction to flash out of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Taki. Otherwise he most certainly would have died. Saigon Buffalo, though, back onto the map, pushing now in the mid lane, and surely this time round they will be able to pick up the outer tower. Very good engage from Shang, locks Shogun down, good dredge line onto Harsmid. Again, the Chains of Corruption come through. Kratos sidestepping the charm from Froggy, and Team Secret keep their tower intact once again.
Hit for tat. It's just waiting for one of them to be out of line, to overstep their welcome and to be able to be executed by either team. They're both just looking for blood constantly. Very tense situation on the map right now, and Froggy once again. Froggy's just on cooldown ulting, trying to get close enough to land a charm, trying to fish for the one target. Very interesting application of the Ahri. I feel like Ahri is playing more Malphite than Malphite in this game, surprisingly enough. But it's working alright for Saigon Buffalo. They're still behind in gold, but they're up in kills, they're up in dragons, even though they lost the last one, so they're scaling okay into the late game. Of course, they don't really have a DPS AD carry either, so the Jhin doesn't really get outscaled too heftily by the enemy ADC in this case, but it's still a Varus from pretty far ahead, so a lot of damage on the squishy targets.
Muramana completed for Artifact now has hit some form of a power spike, and Shang is going to be getting rather tanky as well with that Radiant Virtue. Is it the Radiant Virtue or is it the Heart Steel, which is the one that...
No, it is Radiant Virtue.
Okay. There you go. Infinite scaling for Team Secret. Compensates for the Jin.
No. The Heart Steel stacks the health.
Oh, okay.
Radiant Virtue heals the other targets, but it's a much better item. So
fair enough. Well, Shang just hovering around the river. Baron is up, and look at Froggy on the other side of the map, just maybe hoping that someone from Team Secret tries to rotate down to the bottom lane and he can catch them with a charm and some of that RE burst damage now on 2 items with the Everfrost and Banshee's Veil completed.
And Buffalo is so desperate for this mid tower. They want to crack it open. They want to open up the map. And Froggy goes again. There's the Malphite RE trying to fish something.
I can't tell if it's Froggy being unlucky or Eddie being very good on the side steps, but either way, Froggy he keeps on going for these alt engages, just trying to fish for a play, and every time he's coming so close, and you have to feel that one of these times it is going to land and it's going to be devastating for Team Secret.
Exactly, that's why he's doing it. It's the success rate doesn't really matter. You just need to hit one. It doesn't matter when it comes. It just he just needs to hit one on Eddie, and then the game's over because you crack open the tower, you get the Baron. So it's really not about his skill shot accuracy. It's just trying. Maybe it's a 10% chance, but if you tried often enough, maybe the 10% hit at some point.
I'm gonna quote that when you next flame me for missing my skill shots as Nautilus or Blitzcrank.
That's fair. That's fair. The problem with missing on Nautilus is that then you lose your life if you do it. So, that hit actually.
Able to sidestep the Chains of Corruption, Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands. Juhao can flash over the wall, but that's 2 big cooldowns. Now gone. Froggy over the wall, looking for Shang. Lands a charm, but BJ is already incredibly low. Permafrost almost locks BJ down. Kratos is on the other side of the map. Does have a ward that he could teleport to, but Team Secret not looking to press their advantage.
I don't know. This Xin Zhao champion looks incredibly useless to me, but let's see if he can do something later in team fights. Every time he tries to go in, he just goes down to half HP in a matter of half a second or something. So I don't know. It doesn't look too effective. I mean, it's strong in early skirmishes, but I'm not entirely sure what he's going to contribute to the team later. Looks like he's going for something like what's this building into? I think.
What's what building into?
Xin Zhao's items.
Black Cleaver?
It's still Black Cleaver? I think they changed Black Cleaver's item. Well, this is old Black Cleaver build.
Sage goes into Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands. The Dredge line, though, was buffered, and Juhao just delivers himself into the enemy team. BJ has to be careful. Low. One more auto will be enough. Shang gets the kill, so it's a 1-for-1. Jungler down now for Saigon Buffalo. All the while, Kratos just pushing in the bottom lane, gets an outer tower, and still has that teleport available to him.
Rocky on Artifact. Good dodge.
Taki, though, takes a brunt of the Empowered Shock Blast down to half health. Team Secret just backing away, but Shang just tanking all of this wave and preventing Saigon Buffalo from being able to do anything with it. And still, that outer tower in the mid lane standing, and it's felt like Saigon Buffalo had about 4 or 5 opportunities to take it, but every time Team Secret stopping them in their tracks. And now with BJ down, Team Secret say, we don't want to get the Baron, we're going to take the Drake, and once again deny Saigon Buffalo soul point.
And you see the difference between these jungle champions. Xin Zhao is really just a glorified Nautilus, and they did exactly the same thing there as champions in the last team fight. Nautilus got caught, died, and Xin Zhao had to go forward to catch the Nautilus and died as well. But when the Sejuani goes in, she actually has time to do stuff and run out again. So you really see the difference between these two champions. And also, just look at the CS. How has this happened? How is Sejuani 50 CS up on Xin Zhao?
I mean, to be fair, BJ was ganking, looking for plays a lot, and we commented that BJ was about 20-30 CS down on Shanga about 10 minutes, and I guess that CS difference has only continued to increase. Something else I do want to bring up with the Drakes is those Mountain Drakes could be really big for Saigon Buffalo, for the likes of Hasme. We talked about how much of a thorn in the side of Team Secret that Malphite can be with its tankiness, but by denying some of those Drakes away from Saigon Buffalo, it's now going to be the likes of Shang and Juhao that are going to be rather difficult for Saigon Buffalo to burn through.
Yeah, and everyone knows Mountain Drakes are already one of the best dragons, maybe the best dragons in the game, but it's even more important than... Oh, Oh, that's a catch on Shogun.
Froggy teleported to the bottom lane, and Team Secret are saying this is now our opportunity to engage. Hasmed is making his way over. Taki is low, but look how tanky Shang is, and Team Secret say we don't want Taki anymore. We want to kill BJ. We want to kill the jungler. And down goes the Xin Zhao. Hasmed locked down. Kratos flashing forward with a slicing maelstrom. Can't get on top of Shogun, but they just want to kill the Malphite. 2 kills for Team Secret.
Where's the damage for Saigon Buffalo? They just don't have any. At least Froggy finally lends a charm on Eddie, but it's still not enough to kill him. Might be with a little bit of dancing.
Froggy feeling like finding an engage, but now there's no ultimate available for Froggy. Has to be careful of Zhu Hao with that dredge line, but with the damage onto Eddie, Team Secret no longer feel like they can take the Baron. So Secret get 2 kills, but they can't get anything from it.
You really see the tankiness of Shang and even his very smart itemization paying dividends. Shogun was so far ahead in this game, but he's playing Lethality Varus, and Lethality Varus is not good at dealing with this insanely tanky Qiang. I'm sorry. And with the 2 Mountain Drakes, that might actually be what pushes him ahead of everyone else, because he is, look at him, he's not taking any damage from everyone, and then even the healing from his Radiant Virtue keeps him popped off. He's such a menace. He might actually be the main carry in teamfights right now, because he can do whatever he wants. He has so much CC to work with, and no one can really step up to him. Shogun can't even get close. Froggy deals no damage to him, so who's ever cutting through this pick on the other side?
I do want to say, I think the final part of that fight from Team Secret, where Kratos went for the flash engage, I don't think was smart, because now you no longer have the flash slicing Maelstrom to get on top of Shogun for the next fight. And on top of that, if you look at the map as a whole, Saigon Buffalo came out of that on top because they were able to get the mid lane outer tower. Team Secret weren't able to get anything from it. So from a structural point of view, I think Saigon Buffalo will be happy with how that fight turned out.
I mean, they can't really be happy. Maybe it's a little bit of a not quite the worst of situations is available now, but it's still a pretty devastating situation you're finding yourself in as the team. You have the 3k gold down, but it feels like much more, because there's no way you can ever kill the enemy tank. So how do you even win team fights? BJ just evaporates in all of these, but here we have another try.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow once again, though, lands onto Zhu Hao, and Shang is just tanking everything. He's taking the kitchen sink from Saigon Buffalo, but the kitchen sink is completely empty, and Shang is just going to slowly heal up now, has the Warmog's armor as well, so Saigon Buffalo just can't find a way through this front line. We thought that the Malphite was going to be the issue for Team Secret, but in fact, it's turning out to be the Sejuani for Saigon Buffalo.
And what a performance once again from this rookie jungler. 3 games, and 3 very impactful, very good games. This time he was a little bit quieter in the early game. He did find some good engages in the bottom lane especially, and punished Taki over and over again. Was caught out a few times by Taki's aggression on the other hand too. But his late game impact, his team fighting, and just staying relevant on these tanks is something that has to be learned too. Something that, for example, BJ seems to be struggling with, at least in this game, where he has fallen so far behind that he's just a glorified minion at this point, just an engage bot, essentially support, where the other jungler is having huge teamfight impact and is carrying his team.
Really good performance from Shang, not just against SBTC last week, but here against Saigon Buffalo. And we talked about how important this series is for both teams if they want to make it into playoffs. With Team Flash having lost, whoever wins this series will be jumping up to 5th place, just 1 series behind SBTC, and Team Wales in 3rd place. Shang looks for the engage onto Froggy. Spirit rushes out to safety. The charm, though, lands onto Zhu Hao. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through. This time, surely they get through.
Oh, they got him!
He's pulled in, can't get over the wall. It's a kill for Saigon Buffalo. And surely this time, Saigon Buffalo can pick themselves up at Drake.
Yeah, now without the big tank, Team Secret shouldn't be able to ever go close to the dragon, and they are missing the smite too, so it's not even really worth to try and get there, because it's super risky and then you have a very, very low chance of actually getting that dragon. So finally, Saigon Buffalo get a little bit of a breath of fresh air, and the 3rd dragon. Now 1 dragon away from Soul. They need 1 more of those fights, and then it's it's the Dragon Soul, one of the strongest Dragon Souls too, which will give BJ and Hasmed so much of a respite in terms of tankiness in the late game. Just added HP for free and so much tankiness on top of that. So this could be a huge turning point in the game.
Have you ever heard of a knee-jerk reaction?
Of
Are you
course.
familiar with the term?
Of course.
So, Shang just did a knee-jerk reaction to that fight. Do you know what it was?
Flashing?
No. So, you know how he got stunned down for eternity and died?
Yeah.
After he died, he instantly sold his lucidity boots and bought Mercury Threads.
Oh, that's so funny.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through, but this time there are some nice Mercury Threads that Lockdown Shang is not. And Team Secret looking to contest over the Baron Nash of Saigon Buffalo, currently the team with control over the top side river, but there is a very nice scuttle that is giving Team Secret a little bit of vision. Kratos split pushing in the bottom lane, Froggy no teleport, so Team Secret waiting for Harsmed to answer this Kennen in the side lane before looking for a play.
And Milky, please riddle me this. How in the world is Kratos perma split pushing but always a level behind Harsmed? I don't understand. This
Well, he's
so
now the same
confusing
level.
to me.
So, I don't know, just, don't you know when you split push, minions are worth less XP, right?
Sure. Now this is really confusing, but he hit level 16 now, so he is a huge damage threat, and Taki and Shogun are just gonna explode if he ever gets on top of them. He does a flash ready, so this is one of the scariest cannon you can ever face. I think he went pretty aggressive with his items too. Not the highest AP build, but a very high utility and penetration build, so this is gonna be a very, very scary team fighting cannon. We haven't seen that many good cannons so far. The best cannon player in the league should be Yoshino, but his cannon performance of...
Wait, really?
Yeah, he is insane. I mean, Harsmed is really good, but Yoshino has always been known for his cannon, has always been good on cannon, so I feel like we haven't really seen the high end of cannon play so far, but it might be this game with the rookie Kratos coming in. Very quiet so far, but look at him now. 3.5 items working towards this big void stuff to cut through the extra resistances and try to eliminate Shogun and maybe even Froggy from the fight.
And I don't know if you remember to last week, Yolway, but I asked you for a stat on how many games had Kennen played. If I remember correctly, it was 2. It is now at 3. This will be the 4th Kennen game. And Kennen has not yet won a single game in the VCS.
But to be fair, last week was actually the patch where it was super confusing that we saw Kennen, because that was also a knee-jerk reaction to the patch coming in solo queue. Just play Kennen on the weak patch and competitive, because it feels good in solo queue. Makes no sense, but of course now we are actually on 13.5, so the Kennen is buffed. The Kennen is a much better pick now than it was last week, and Kratos, once again, he's kind of the hidden factor for Team Secret, because we haven't actually seen anything from him yet in the game, but everyone knows about the hidden potential of the team fighting cannon. And now Saigon Buffalo are forced to start the Baron because he's just perma split pushing.
And Kratos is just going to keep on split pushing. He's going to get this inhibitor tower so quickly. It's already down. Now looking for the inhibitor. And Team Secret are being an absolute menace. Keep your eyes on Froggy, looking for the potential engage. They turn off the Baron, and now the teleport is coming in. But Saigon Buffalo are already losing the fight in the 4v5. It's practically 5v3. Great dredge line onto Froggy. And Kratos just forces Saigon Buffalo away from the fight. Team Secret are murdering Saigon Buffalo. Good flash, almost tagged by the dredge line from Zhu Hao. A double kill for Eddie. Artifact falls, but it's 3 for 1 for the side of Team Secret, and most certainly a Baron Nashor to be secured.
This is exactly what we expect in this matchup between Team Secret and Saigon Buffalo. Aggressive posturing, aggressive fighting from Saigon Buffalo, more creative plays, and Secret is the better team in terms of lane allocation and just macro play, and this is exactly what happened. Saigon Buffalo this time was forced to start the Baron. They needed to break the split push, but it was a rather haphazard start and just a little bit half-hearted in the execution. They weren't able to commit to it fully, and then Team Secret wins on both sides of the map. Saigon Buffalo is behind in position. They try to salvage it with a really good engage on Artifact. Froggy from the side. Artifact instantly eliminated from the fight. So it's a 1-for-0 start for Saigon Buffalo, which is good. But then Kratos zones away the whole backline. They can't ever fight in this choke point whatsoever. Taki and Shogun just completely zoned away from Kratos and still die to him. So Team Secret now in a very good position to win map number 1.
Third Drake of the game secured as well by Team Secret. Shogun and Taki now with no flash available either. It's going to make them so much more susceptible to a depth charge from Zhu Hao, from an engage from Shang. Baron and sole point for Team Secret. They're not going to push their advantage just yet. They're going to go back to doing what's been working so well for them, which is this 4-1 split pushes, saying, Kratos, you do your own thing. Nobody seems to be able to match you. Nobody seems to want to match you from Saigon Buffalo, and we'll keep doing our thing, which is pushing as 4 members in a different lane and just making sure we don't get caught out by a Hazmed unstoppable force.
Yeah, and I'm kind of failing to see the win conditions for Saigon Buffalo now, because they just don't have the damage to cut through Qiang and even Zhu Hao, and then they don't really have the tools to fire past Kratos when he zones the backline. Even if Shogun gets to auto-attack a few times or gets to rotate through his spells a few times, how can he ever kill anyone? So, yeah.
Well, this is Hazmed. That's the tank, and down goes the tank for Saigon Buffalo. We were wondering how much of an issue would this Malphite be? Well, 3 items on the Malphite, and Team Secret just get to fire away at him, and down goes what we thought would be a very scary rock.
Indeed, and that's really should be the game for Team Secret. Maybe not on this push, but it's looking doomed for Saigon Buffalo.
Tanked up very well by Zhu Hao. Great dredge line onto Froggy, and down goes the Saigon Buffalo mid laner. Zhu Hao is incredibly low, but look who's coming from the side. It's Kratos looking for that potential engage. For now, though, he's just looking for an inhibitor, now scaring Shogun and Taki. In goes Kratos. Damage, wow, but the Shogun absolutely eviscerated, just like Saigon Buffalo are being eviscerated from the ref. Team Secret, 38 minutes, take game 1 over Saigon Buffalo.
What a performance in the late game. Team Secret with a measured approach after a completely chaotic early game, but the 2 rookies that came in, Kratos and Qiang, looked so good, and this team is revitalized now. 3 and 5, they are pretty far behind, and whoever loses today is almost entirely out of the playoff race, especially if Saigon Buffalo loses to Secret, because they're already 0-1 in the head-to-head, so an 0-2 head-to-head to Secret could be the make-or-break point for this team that used to be the second-best team in the league, with almost no contest, right? Yeah. So it's very surprising to see. They still have a chance, of course, in this series. They can come back. It was a very close affair, but I feel like I'm still questioning the last pick Malphite. If you think about Malphite into canon, Malphite used to be a really good answer into certain AD champions, but into canon? I mean, he was alright in laning phase, but it diverts his build so much towards magic damage, towards MR, and then he's not really the armor tank we liked to know him for, right? Because he's one of the strongest armor scaling champions in the game. So it does confuse me a bit. Need to see a little bit more tape.
A very good performance, though, from Team Secret. And after this series, both these teams would have played 9 series. So they will have, 6 series remaining? Sorry, 5 series remaining. So it, of course, always does come down to the performances of the other teams, in this case, the likes of Team Wells and SBTC, who are currently holding those final 2 playoff spots. But for now, we're going to head into a short break. Wait.
Eat 1 more minute, please.
Okay. Wait, what are we looking at?
I need 1 more minute.
Oh, you just want to show us Taki dying? Is that what it is?
No.
Oh no! Oh no!
What's happening?
No! Oh dear! And Team Secret won despite this.
Yeah. Sorry, I
forgot. Why are you gonna do my boy Zhu Hao like that?
Alright, these are the highlights. We had a lot of fighting in the early game.
Low light.
Maybe low light, yeah. There was some issues, certainly some issues over there with the early game plays, but it was a very chaotic and a very fun early game to watch, I'd say, because
that's, you know what, that clip, that's what we need. You know, when you interview players, we need to be able to bring in Zhu Hao to have a post-game interview with, and then say, Zhu Hao, talk us through this. What was going on here, buddy?
I mean, I completely messed up what I wanted to do, and now we're just stalling for time. So let's go to the pause. I'm sorry, Milky. I'm going to fix graphics in a second.
We have some cool graphics coming, but we'll see you guys in a short bit for Game 2 between Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret. Welcome back, everyone, to the VCS Week 5, Day 3. We're heading into the second game of the series between Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret. Game 1, Team Secret were able to win as Team Secret continue their recent trend of looking very, very good.
Yeah, especially later in the game. I think the early game still needs some work, especially if they want to contest for maybe more than just playoffs. If they want to give a GAM a run for their money, they probably need to work on some of those early game woes, especially getting dived on in bot lane rather easily with Froggy roaming. But the positives, late game looking much improved and team fighting looking better, I think, than we have ever seen from Team Secret, because that was always their biggest weakness. They were always a good macro team, better than Saigon Buffalo, for example. The series in spring, you remember it probably, because you were on the big Eddie hype train, where Team Secret against Saigon Buffalo decided the MSI participant, right? And Saigon Buffalo should have been the much better team, but Secret actually played them super close. They lost every single team fight, but they won every single mid game. So it was back and forth between team fight and split pushing wins back and forth in that series. So good to see them actually win through team fighting and better positioning on the map once again.
It's kind of weird because last week when we were talking about Team Secret, you were bringing up how Team Secret have been looking good or looking decent in early games. They needed to clean up the late games, and now they have been fixing up that late game, and now it's about stepping up that early game just that one notch more. What do you want to see Saigon Buffalo doing differently in Game 2? Because Game 1, the start of the game looked okay, particularly in the bottom lane, utilizing that Varus Ashe dominance that they had, but after about 5 minutes, things started going downhill.
So for me, the number one thing right now with Saigon Buffalo is that I'm missing an identity from this team. And I think you can definitely see that as well if you look at their champion pools, because I think you have stats prepared. How many champions has Froggy played this split?
15.
How many champions has Shogun played this split?
12.
And Taki?
Also 12.
Yeah, that's way too many champions. It looks really good when you're winning, right? It looks like, oh, they can play anything, they can win with everything. But if they're losing, it just looks like, well, you can't play you can't actually play anything. You don't have any identity. You have no idea how your team is working, and that's exactly what I feel like when I look at SGB with their new coach. They're just scrambling. They're trying to find anything that works, and nothing really is working for this team right now, which is very surprising because individual performances are still fine, right? Shogun, Taki, especially Shogun, still look amazing. Froggy, I think, has been alright, especially with his map movements, but the team as a whole is just not coming together as we head into draft number 2.
And I think that's something else to talk about. We talked about how both teams had pretty much the same players coming into this split. One thing, though, that had massively changed for Saigon Buffalo is they had lost their head coach, Ren, who I think most of us in the VCS kind of unanimously agree as being the best coach in terms of being very flexible in drafts and being able to do some really cool stuff. But here we go then for picks and bans of Game 2. And once again, Team Secret looking at this, Jace.
Yeah, Graga's first pick, 22% win rate, so really not finding much success in the VCS, which is so surprising because it's such a good team fighting champion. And we are all about team fighting here, but yeah, it's gonna go into Guri's hands most likely because Guri has played 5 games of it already. We see Jace and Maokai. Now, I'm super interested to see what kind of Maokai we're going to see here, because it could be the heal Maokai that has kind of cropped up over in the LPL. So, I would be interested to cast one of those, and it's another team-focused champion for Kiang, which is, yeah, it seems to be his identity, which is so surprising for a rookie jungler. No Lee Sin, no playmaking champion, no farming selfish kind of style. It's full team play and very facilitating from the side of Kiang, which, yeah, is something you expect the veterans to do, not so much the rookies.
Now, I do just want to add something to that. You say playmaking. I feel like the Maokai and the Sejuani come under playmaking.
Come under? Yeah, I mean, they do make plays. Yeah, they do make plays, but it's not like a Lee Sin where you kick someone into your team. Yes, they do initiate team fights, but it's not what you associate with playmaking in the first, like, when it first springs to your mind. I think you think about Lee Sin, you think about maybe Wukong even, or Vi, but not so much about those tank junglers. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of style to see from a rookie player, and their team composition already for Team Secret looks quite tanky, with a lot of different engage options, with a lot of flanking potential, and you can corral people in with all the sapling traps and so on, and then Kaisanti ulti from one side and Jace poke from the other side. So I'm already really liking this composition. A lot of range and a lot of zoning potential.
And now with this Kaisanti locked in, it does mean that we're once again going to be seeing Artifact on this Jace. I'm interested to see where the Gragas is going. Of course, starting off as a Pentaflex. Now not going to be going into either the ADC or the support role, and we'll see whether either Hazmed and it's Guri back in for Saigon Buffalo. So Saigon Buffalo swapping out their junglers mid-series.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Guri, because he's already played 5 games of it.
Okay. The thing is, Gragas does feel like very much a froggy kind of champion, as Team Secret locking in the Kai'Sa for Eddie. This screams to me Nautilus.
0% win rate, as you saw, in VCS. It's the favorite champion of literally every single ADC in the VCS, and it hasn't won a single game.
No.
So. At least it used to be a few years ago. But the Kai'Sa, of course, I think it makes a lot of sense with this composition. We already know Kai'Sa is a lot of people like Kai'Sa into the Zarya matchup, especially late game, where you can jump on top of the Zarya, kind of eliminate her. But if you look at what Team Secret's draft as a whole wants to do, as I said earlier, it's very engage heavy. You can come from different sides, and it makes it even more chaotic and harder to play against if you add the Kai'Sa. Because even the ADC is not backlining. The ADC is going to dive into the front line as well, or into the back line of the enemy team. So yeah, I like this composition a lot. I think it's hard to play though. So Team Secret really trying to challenge for the next level of accomplishment, where they have to be so coordinated in these team fights, while the side of Saigon Buffalo just drafted a standard front-to-back team composition with a little bit of scaling options in especially top lane and ADC, and decent playmaking too.
I think as well, the other thing I want to bring up is you talk about front to back versus what Team Secret have. I think this works out really well for Team Secret, because they've got so many tools to dive into the backline, mainly being this Kai'Sa, you've got the Maokai K'Sante. Even if they get not the most ideal position to start off a fight, they can reposition into that ideal position. So I really like what Team Secret had. I was very excited to see the potential rel from Zhu Hao, but we are just going to be seeing standard Nautilus, which we know how good Kai'Sa Nautilus is, and I think Team Secret have all of the tools they need to be able to get their second 2-0 win in a row and really, really start to ramp up this charge for the playoffs.
Yeah, and before we dive really deeply into the champion interactions and so on, once again, I want to reiterate that this series is so important for both of these teams, both sitting just outside of playoffs right now, 3 and 5. And we know that usually 8 wins is where you want to be. 8 wins is kind of the sweet spot where usually you already qualify for playoffs. And with Cerberus on 7 wins, and they still have MBE to play, if I remember correctly, they are kind of secured. So we have Cerberus and GAM already in players. We have SBTC and, of course, Wales ahead of them, at least one series. So the air is getting really thin for this team. So whoever loses today is so far away from playoffs.
Yeah. One thing as well for Team Secret is if they can win this series, they do still have a series against Team Wales to play. And if they can win that against one of their playoffs competitors, that would be absolutely massive for them. We are heading into game, and your way, I'm going to start off with a milky fun stat. How many games of Kai'Sa do you think we've had this split in the VCS?
3 or 4, I'd say. 3?
You are correct with 3. Who do you think played those games of Kai'Sa?
Artemis played 1.
Correct.
Puddin maybe, and probably
No.
Slows.
Not Slows. Shogun and Slader.
Oh,
However,
wow.
Slader had a KDA of 13 on the champion. Did lose. All 3 games of Kai'Sa have been losses. Shogun and Artemis with slightly less impressive KDAs. We'll see though whether Eddie can be the first Kai'Sa player this split to pick up a win.
That is quite a lot of competition if you think about the names there. Artemis, Shogun, and Slater. Those are the legendary three, I'd say, over the last 3-4 years of VCS, the best ADCs in the league. So let's see if Eddie can actually put his name up there with the greats. Of course, he's more known for Zarya than his Kai'Sa, but being good at Zarya means you probably also understand how to counter the Zarya. And as I said earlier, Kai'Sa is kind of one of those champions that a lot of people like into this matchup.
Well, if you're going with that logic, then I think Eddie's lost because I'm pretty sure Hasmed knows how to counter Kennen and it didn't quite work out for him in game 1.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You shut me down, that is absolutely fair enough because the logic was a little bit of a stretch, but still, just wanted to point out that I still love Eddie's Zarya, so I want to see more of that, please.
His Zarya last week against SBTC was very, very good and arguably won game 2 for Team Secret. Maybe we'll still get a chance to see the Zarya this series, depending on how this game goes. The traditional line comes in from Wow, so much damage as Taki goes in once again, ignited. Taki forced the flash away. And it is a trade of summoners, but Taki using both his sums and Zhuhao just using one.
Something is very off with Taki today as Guri finds Qiang, and Qiang is in trouble. He probably has to flash here.
Does have a flash available. The overload won't land, but now Artifact is making his way over. The Powered Shock Blast comes through.
Greedy.
And Shang just holds on to his flash, and Saigon Buffalo hold on to Shang's life.
Oh, come on, that was so obvious. Of course you can't flash the enemy's flash. It's so hard to do. You kind of have to anticipate that. Very greedy to hold on to his flash. A little bit of that might be the first real rookie thing we have seen about Qiang, because
I don't know what's going on in the top lane. This is why you take Ignite in the top lane, folks. Very close between Hasmed and Kratos. I do want to go back to that mid lane play. I agree. I will start off with that I agree Shang should have flashed, but he got 2 flashes for it. Now Froggy doesn't have a flash available, very susceptible to a gank, possible kills for Artifact.
By the way, I am pretty sure people told me it's pronounced Qiang, so with a key instead of a G. Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember I seem to remember people telling us in Discord that his name was pronounced Qiang. If you disagree...
I mean, I've also seen people in Discord telling me that color is spelt with O instead of OU, but...
Okay, yeah, I mean, that is more... Yeah, that is more forgivable, though it does look ugly, I agree. I do much prefer the British spelling. But yeah, so if you know anything about the pronunciation of his name, if you disagree with Qiang, or you want us you can tell us how to pronounce his name correctly, then please go ahead. But yeah, I'm going to go with the information I got through some of our contacts in Vietnam that told me he's pronounced with a K instead of a ch sound. So let's go with that. But we don't actually have a replay for the first play, which is a little unfortunate. I wanted to examine that movement again. He is on the back foot now and probably just is consigned to farming in the early game on this Maokai for the time being.
And I guess this time Qiang does not have a huge CS lead over his jungle opponent. Although this time he's not playing against BJ, it is Guri back in for Saigon Buffalo, who has been playing for Saigon Buffalo for the majority of their games this split.
Much slower early game compared to game 1, which is more what we expect from Saigon Buffalo especially. Last year they really transitioned over to this more conservative farming kind of style from their explosive selves from 2021. They try to adapt to more of a consistent laning, like safe laning style into team fights, which takes away a little bit of the hype of the team and some of their strength in the early game that we saw in action in game number 1, but of course makes them more consistent. So if you can get through the early game and win team fights, then you're kind of okay, that's a good engage. Eddie has to flash.
Eddie forced to flash away as just seeing Guri just having a little look towards the bottom lane, not able to find anything particularly great. So it's just a flash forced out of Eddie as both Zhuhao has his Ignite up. Taki though did use his Ignite though for that play.
What do you think about cleanse on Eddie in this game? I always feel a little weird about cleanse into Rakan. As we saw there in the trade, of course, cleanse doesn't really do much against the Grand Entrance trades because it can't cleanse the knockup. So I feel like heal just makes you so much stronger in the 2v2. Of summon Cleanse is a better late game summon as well, right? Heal never gets the same value, but especially in this contested early game and these 2v2s against Shogun and Taki, I feel like I would have preferred the heal just for better combat ability.
Maybe it's a case of the Team Secret bot lane duo saying, look, we probably don't win the 2v2s against Zyra Khan as it is a strong duo, so we're just going to sit back and say we don't want any trade, so don't even need the heal as a result and just take the safety that Cleanse gives, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. I just feel like it might not have been the best decision, especially if you consider what he wants to do in teamfights. This is a very aggressive outlook for teamfighting for Eddie, right? On the Kai'Sa, he wants to follow his K'Sante into the backline, into wherever the K'Sante goes, and over there you probably want to deal with a little bit more HP to work with, maybe even heal Kratos or Kyung, whoever you're with. So I still feel like the heal could have been a huge asset for the team fights, but of course the cleanse into something like Guri stun, into Hosmid stun, into Froggy root is also a huge asset to have. So my eyes are on Eddie for sure, because of course Kai'Sa 0% win rate so far. There have been reasons as to why she has been so unsuccessful, and most teams nowadays are so much better at front to back, and Kai'Sa does not really shine in her current form compared to some of the other ADCs in pure front to back team fighting.
I guess then the plan is for Team Secret, which we kind of mentioned. We'll see exactly how it does play out, because games never play out exactly as how we predict and analyze in a drafting phase, but Team Secret do have this very good backline engage and won't be looking for a standard front-to-back team fight. Realm Warp, though, coming into the bottom lane. We are looking to party. Pop goes Eddie. And let's be honest, there's nothing that Xu Hao can do here by himself. A beautifully, beautifully executed play by Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely crisp play from Saigon Buffalo. Flash blown from Eddie and the 2v2 engage, and they punish on the other side. Of course, this leaves Hosmid a bit exposed, and he dies to the gank. He shouldn't die there. He knows all the attention of his team is on bot lane, so he should disengage from his top lane. But still, it's a very well executed Ryze ultimate with Gragas in tow. And the kills go over to those two, so everyone gets a lot of gold out of this, because Shogun, of course, gets to mine some gold from the plates. Really nicely done from Saigon Buffalo. And in game 1, remember, they did a bot lane dive as well. So now 2 games in a row where they have these early executions on bot dives through Froggy's roam. So Froggy back in his roaming form, it seems, today.
And Ryze, probably an easier champion to roam on than the Ahri. And unlike game 1, Saigon Buffalo actually with a much cleaner dive than whatever the shambles that happened in game 1. I did want to see what happened as well to Hosmid, because he was under his tower, so not too much that he could do here.
Yeah, uses his ultimate very early and just doesn't get to play the video game. Unfortunate there. Just perma-CC'd, not even able to flash anywhere because of the multiple CCs and multiple knockbacks from both sides there. Very nicely coordinated. Actually don't want to flame Hosmid too much for that, because he tried to play it as safely as possible. Didn't see the ultimate from Kyung coming, so in the end just fell to nicely executed dive and good plays from both teams. Always what we want to see. No fumbles, and instead just back and forth with the aggressive plays on either side of the map.
Now we're going to have a small period of a break where we just wait for an objective to come up. Next objective in just under 2 minutes being the Ocean Drake, and it is currently Saigon Buffalo who have priority over that. The Kraken Slayer being built by Shogun, way ahead of Eddie right now. 10 CS up. And a couple of assists as well for some extra
That's
goal.
a super fascinating buy, because we never see that on Zarya. The Zarya almost exclusively goes Gale Force. I barely ever see anything else on Zarya, because it's such a good item to reposition your feathers and chase down for kills with execution damage and so on. So my understanding of this Kraken Slayer here is probably he just wants to spike for laning 2v2s and maybe even 1v1s, where Kraken Slayer will give him that little bit of extra oomph, especially if he hits Xu Hao with the true damage, of course. So it's an interesting buy. It gives him more stats, but makes him more vulnerable in terms of positioning into this dive composition. Not something I would have thought he would like to do. You want to reposition as much as possible into the divers of his TS. But first of all, oh, the dodge from
Although
Taki.
Zhuhao somehow misses the dredge line, that could be absolutely catastrophic for Team Secret. Flashing away is Kiang, but he's not going to get out to safety. Froggy picks up his 3rd kill of the game, and Zhuhao now on the run as Artifact might get locked down. Flashes under his tower, and Saigon Buffalo will just have to be content with a single kill.
Okay, I'm waiting for the replay because I'm calling dodge, not miss. I think Taki had the most insane reaction to that hook there with the sidestep, but let's wait for the replay to examine that one again. As Shogun, with the item buy, with the super aggressive Kraken Slayer early, gets to push his wave permanently. Now will profit with more platings and first tower as well. I really like that sneaky auto attack from Shogun there, because if he doesn't attack, if he doesn't get the plating himself, he will share plating gold with Guri for the last plating there. Really nice sneaky auto attack to get that plating for himself, and then also 500 extra gold from the first tower. So he's very far accelerated, and Saigon Buffalo off to a blasting start with 3k gold lead.
A really, really good start for Saigon Buffalo. I hope we do get a replay of that, but we've been seeing some, let's call them slightly suspect Nautilus hooks from Zhuhao in this series and from Ron OP. And Ron OP is one of, I feel like we view as one of the best Nautilus players in the league alongside Taki.
I want to see the replay again because I think Taki sidestepped that one, but apparently we don't get to replay the fight because so much is happening on all the lanes. Second dragon already over to Saigon Buffalo yet again. It's a mountain dragon. Oh, Mountain Soul, I should say. So, a lot of hidden tankiness, especially in champs like the Rice, who naturally builds a lot of HP. So if you get a little bit more armor with the with 2 Mountain Drags, suddenly you're almost a tank. So this could really go a long way to make Froggy almost invincible in the late game.
And he's already very strong. 3-0, 219 stacks on the tier. We'll be looking for that Seraph's Embrace or Archangel Staff, which will evolve into the Seraph's. Rift Herald already used in the bottom lane. Next Rift Herald will be up in a couple of minutes. Saigon Buffalo will be eager to continue to extend their gold lead.
I just saw something pointed out in chat. Thank you very much, Marby. This is gonna be another Demonic Embrace Maokai, which is very confusing to me because the reason Maokai fell out of favor initially were nerfs to his AP build. And then people transitioned Maokai into a tank support style of champion, especially people like Tarzan over in the LPL, and found a lot of success with that style, where he builds something like even Moonstone I've seen, and then Mandate and stuff like that, so helping out the other people on his team, and you go tanky in terms of runes with the Aftershock and so on. So now we have that in terms of rune setup with Aftershock, but he still goes for the AP build, so it's a little confusing in terms of where he wants to go, and his identity is a little unclear. Because usually in the heydays of AP Maokai, you went with the red smite item with extra damage, with first strike for extra damage and extra gold from the poke as well. So this is a little bit of a mixed Maokai, and I'm not entirely sure if mixed Maokai is the answer in this game.
2 things that I want to bring up. I'm going to start off with the positive. I want to look at Saigon Buffalo because this feels like what Saigon Buffalo have been lacking this split. When we think about why Saigon Buffalo have been struggling, not performing to the same highs that we saw in 2022, I feel like a lot of it comes down, not because he's been playing badly, but Froggy not really being able to be unlocked on the map. In this series, even in Game 1, we saw Froggy really getting around the map, and here in Game 2, it's been really, really successful for him and Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think Froggy has always been the engine of the team, and one of the most crucial members, not the main carry, absolutely not the main carry in team fights. That has always been Asmid and Shogun, sometimes even BJ, but Froggy is really the best playmaker on the team, I'd argue, with some of the absolutely insane flanks he has pulled off on Irelia, on Yona, and all his AP champions as well. Silas comes to mind, Rice in this game. So I really think Saigon Buffalo thrives in the early and mid game if Froggy plays well, and if Froggy has control of his lane and is able and enabled to roam and impact the side lanes.
And the other thing I want to bring up is going over to the side of Team Secret. I guess where Saigon Buffalo have been very good, Team Secret have struggled a bit. This is the game where Kiang and Artifact haven't been able to generate that kind of a lead. And it leads me on to ask, how do Team Secret get back into this game? Because they find themselves nearly 4k down. They're going to have a think about contesting over the Rift Herald. Teleports are coming in. Artifact is making his way over. Kratos is low. And the Nature's Grasp has been used. Forces Hazmed out of the river, but the Rift Herald now secured by the side of Saigon Buffalo, and Team Secret are left with nowhere to go. Have to be careful. Kiang getting caught out. Realm Orb coming through. No one in the Realm Orb. Kiang, though, surely will die. The shield is big. The Ignite, though, ticks down. Taki gets the kill. Kratos very well timing his W so that he doesn't get knocked out by the explosive cask.
Yeah, it all looks a little bit desperate from Team Secret, scattered across the top side of the map, but they weren't really ready to contest, but then again, they didn't really go for anything on the other side of the map either, so the worst of both worlds, you could argue, where you just look at the enemy team taking the objective in front of you, and then they still are too close and get engaged on by Saigon Buffalo, so it's some of that which we hate to see when teams are too inactive to make a call, and then still get punished for the non-call they made. That's exactly what happened here. I'm not sure about Kiang's ultimate. They were super scared about the teleport, so they directed the ultimate towards the one lonely Hazmed on the side. And Kiang tries his damnness to get out of here, but it's just not enough. And the game is really slipping out of the control of Team Secret. At this point, you could argue that Saigon Buffaloes should be the ones to win right now. But let's see if they can cleanly push it home, because that has been one of the struggles for Saigon Buffalo too. They should have beaten Cerberus earlier this week, and then they threw away a huge gold lead into the better scaling composition of Cerberus in game number 3 and lost that crucial series earlier. So Saigon Buffalo with a little bit of baggage, you could argue, from earlier this week. They need to overcome their demons.
You'd think how close the standings would be if Saigon Buffalo had beaten Cerberus. Cerberus would now be 6 wins and 3 losses in the standings. Saigon Buffalo would be 4-4, possibly going on to 5-4. Just, well, it tie them with Team Wells and SBTC for 3rd and just 1 series behind Cerberus in 2nd. But that is not how things have panned out here in week 5. And Team Secret might be taking us, or I say Team Secret might be taking us, Saigon Buffalo might be taking us to a game 3.
Yeah, let's hope so. We want to see a competitive series. This is so important for both of these teams. Their playoffs lives might depend on this series when it comes to it, and especially for Saigon Buffalo. It's super important for Secret too, but it might be even more important for Saigon Buffalo because, of course, they lost the first series to Secret, so an 0-2 head-to-head is looming on the horizon, added on to a 3-6 series score. That would be their score if they lost this game or the series in the next game. So they really have to rally and get themselves together. It's Guri back in, so the starting lineup we expected to see, and probably the better jungler out of the two right now, because BJ had a little bit of a confusing performance. He wasn't inting, he wasn't running it down, but he looked a little bit out of sorts, I'd say, in the first game. So it's good to see Guri on his main champion, the Gragas, once again having a decent performance. Actually, this time outperforming Kiang. I think this is the first game where Kiang is on the back foot in terms of jungling.
Yes. I do agree on that, as Froki used the Realm Warp just to try to throw off Artifact, and Artifact having none of it, but now Guri is making his way over. Explosive Cask delivers Artifact into Froggy's waiting arms, although Guri will take the killers in the bottom lane. Team Secret are looking for an aggressive play of their own. Hazmed pulled out of the tower. Is there enough damage, though? I don't think there is. Hazmed is going to get the kill onto Kiang, and Kratos surely won't find a kill. Hazmed flashing out of the Intofo strikes, and Hazmed picks up 1 for nothing.
Hazmed do something more here. Kratos is going to lose his ultimate form. Hazmed does have decent sustain with the Ocean Dragon taking him up. Slowly but surely, this could be a little bit of a spicy 1-1 down in the bot lane. No, Hazmed seems to be playing it safe this time around. He got the solo kill already, so everything is coming up Saigon Buffalo.
Kiang now 0-4. Kratos, the only member of Team Secret. Oh dear. It is really not going well for Shu, how is it?
Yeah, look at this again. Kiang, he's so squishy. Even with the Aftershock, he just is not a very tanky Maokai with the first item AP build. And Kratos doesn't really get to deal all that much damage, as Hazmed is very smartly dodging around his huge Tofu strikes, or the even stronger version of that when he goes all out. So just well played from Hazmed and nicely defended into the dive. That was almost a desperation dive. Look at Kiang, 0-4 on this not so great Maokai build. He's falling further and further behind just by going this route, and he, once again, this time he is the jungler who's just a glorified engage support in this game.
Saigon Buffalo with a huge lead, and you'd have to think that they're going to bring this game home. We've seen Team Secret on the opposite end of something like this back when they lost to SBTC in the first round robin. They had a huge lead and it all ended up going south, so maybe Team Secret could look for a play similar to that, but 6k goal down, things are starting to look grim as Saigon Buffalo gained control over the topside river and look towards a Baron Nashor.
Here we have another engage. Nope. This time Froggy doesn't pull the trigger.
Froggy's been using a lot of those realm warps where he's not actually inside the ult, and Team Secret now don't really know what to do. They've got the outer tower, they've got Saigon Buffalo between them and Saigon's own base. But in the end, Saigon Buffalo are just going to head towards the Baron itself, and Team Secret won't push any further in the mid lane, although Eddie and Juhao have made their way back to pushing to the pushing plan.
The timings are getting close for the dragon spawning in 40 seconds. People need to make their recalls actually work out, and Team Secret just barely gets out to recall and buy some items to stock up for the all-important soul fight. They can't afford to lose this one. Froggy's already super strong. One very, very tiny hope there from Team Secret is Froggy's not level 16 yet, so the biggest spike on his Q damage from 70% to 100% extra damage is not quite acquired, so Froggy not on the highest DPS that would be possible at this stage. Now, I'm not sure how far away he is from level 16. That could be a big power spike for the super tanky Rice, but even then, Saigon Buffalo's in a better position. They are first at the dragon, but Team Secret actually able to walk down the river, and here it comes. Look at Hasmet, he wants the flank.
He's on this flank angle. If he can find his way onto Eddie, it could be big. And Team Secret, even if they find a great fight position, do they have the goal? Do they have the damage to really be able to contest? The 6k goal behind. Kratos is on the other side of the fight. Slowly made his way into edgeline. Well flashed away by... I'm actually not sure who that was. I think it was Xu Hao. And here comes the Nature's Cross. Team Secret pushing forward, looking for the potential play. They're going to look towards Froggy. Froggy, though, goes golden out of a stasis, knocked up by the depth of charge. Big engage, though, coming through from Taki. Is it big enough? Xu Hao is low, has his shield.
What is happening?
Chosen will be able to find the kill, and now Team Secret are on the back of 4 Artifact. Run down, and Saigon Buffalo will find themselves 3 kills for 1.
Very confusing fight, but Saigon Buffalo walk away the victors and the ones with the soul. This was the last-ditch effort for Team Secret in this game. They're now too far behind to really have a fighting chance. They're not going to explode immediately. It's probably going to be a slow burn, but I don't really see Team Secret winning any team fights after this one, especially looking at how optimally it started with Froggy being caught out, immediately eliminated from the fight. He wasn't even level 16, as I said earlier, but this time it's Shogun who's free-firing, and on the other side, Hasmet as well, frontlining for his team, landing so many auto attacks and zoning away all the carries on the other side. Eddie doesn't get to play the game. This composition was not supposed to dive back or to kite back from Secret. They want to dive in, but they're too far behind to make that happen, and this leaves either Shogun or Froggy too exposed.
Sorry, now it's even harder for Team Secret to dive onto Saigon Buffalo because they've got to dive onto a Mountain Soul as well. It's going to be so much more difficult to be able to burn anyone from Saigon Buffalo down, and they used so much to try to get the kill onto Froggy that once they had done that, I feel like they just didn't have that much left to deal with the rest of Saigon Buffalo, deal with a rather strong Shogun and Guri.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And even Hasmet, looking at his itemization, Hasmet is not going the tank route either. He deals a considerable amount of damage the longer the fight goes, of course, with all the hidden stats of Jax as well. He gets Sheen procs all the time, he gets his reduced cooldowns, quite high AD on this build too, and then all the attack speed from his passive. Ult damage is a lot of DPS too, so this Jax is actually one of the main carries of the team too.
This time the Realm Warp. Nobody in it again from Froggy.
I love these.
We talk about glass half full, glass half empty. How about Realm Warp's fully empty from the side of Saigon Buffalo? Baron started by SGB, and I don't think Team Secret can really contest this. Baron just gets burnt down so quickly. Artifact trying to, pull back some gold in some way by split pushing in the bottom lane, but now with a Baron buff for Saigon Buffalo, you have to think that Team Secret's base is going to be cracked wide open.
And considering the enemy mountain soul already, this Jace loses so much effectiveness. So he just collected 700 gold, a nice big paycheck, but it's not really gonna swing anything in this game, especially as Saigon Buffalo is immediately able to push down mid lane. They probably can't get the tower in this go. Maybe they can. Yeah, actually, Shogun is just stepping up very aggressively. But what has Hasmid done over here?
Killer Instinct comes through, looking for the kill onto Hasmid, flashing away. Hasmid still alive. Eddie charging forward, gets the shutdown, but there's nowhere left for Eddie to go. He's been collapsed on, he's still alive. Eddie is still alive in the fight. Taki will be focused down. Guri's making his way in, as is Shogun. Team Secret still have all members alive, but Artifact flashes over the wall, gets killed, burnt down. Eddie falls as well. Somehow, I think Guri was able to get on top of him. Juhao takes the dredge line out to safety, as Kratos just pulls the Gragas under tower. Guri will surely fall. Really good dredge line. Taki will now die, but Kratos goes too far forward, and Shogun says thank you very much for the kill.
That should be all she wrote. Froggy so unbelievably tanky. How was he able to stay alive in the face of 3 opponents? He's just a tank Rice at this point, but he doesn't even have to build tank items. It's incredible how strong this Rice can get with 2 Mountain Drakes under his belt, plus Mountain Soul, and all the sustain, of course, from the fully stacked Rod of Ages. And SGB strike back. This should not quite be the game yet, because it's a little too early.
Available for Artifact. Can Secret maybe find a way to catch off this SGB stragglers?
But I don't think they really have a winning play. This was a really nice collapse. I need to commend Team Secret. They isolated Hasmid and actually got the kill onto Eddie. Eddie used his cleanse in this fight somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure where his cleanse went, because he stood there stunned for ages. Guri actually just smited him down. Nice. And then the drive-by ultimate just to push him back into his own team. But yeah, the real star of the show is Froggy, who's able to get away with some HP remaining and deal so much damage in this fight.
And then Kratos just gets a little bit too aggressive, thinking that maybe he can get a kill onto Guri. Elder Drake in less than 2 minutes time, and that most surely is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Team Secret. Secret, though, still do have their inhibitor tower in the mid lane up just barely. Saigon Buffalo continue to push forward with their Baron-empowered minions.
Really be an easy way home. This time around, they don't get outscaled as hard as they did against the Veigar composition from Cerberus earlier this week. It's also earlier in the game, and the gold lead, I think, is even bigger than them. They also have the soul, so it's a much more comfortable situation for Saigon Buffalo. And even though they're struggling this season, they're still a good enough team to push these kind of advantages towards victory. So it's all about game number 3 now. It will come down to a best of 1. These 2 teams fighting against each other.
Finding an engage, knocked up is Kiang, forced to engage, then flashes away. Still alive, but Saigon Buffalo get the inhibitor tower, now looking for the inhibitor as well. Kiang is going to reset, get some health. And with an Elder in 40 seconds time, Saigon Buffalo are looking to secure all 3 inhibitors, and Team Secret are going to have to deal with 3 super minion waves and somehow try to contest the Elder.
Yeah, the Elder Dragon spawns early enough so that the super minion waves will not be in place yet, so Saigon Buffalo needs to be a little bit careful not to overpush their cards, where they might think, okay, we have 3 inhibitors down, there's no way for them to contest, but there's actually a slight timing window where the inhibitor waves will not hit the Nexus yet. Let's see. Team Secret kind of needs to just send it here.
They are going to send it, but there's just too many members of Saigon Buffalo. As in it goes, Taki takes a fair bit of damage. Catherine Rain, though, won't kill him. Killer Instinct into the backline from Eddie. Surely not. There's no way to outplay this. Eddie flashing back, but he just doesn't have the damage. Poor Eddie is just firing out auto after auto, but with no damage whatsoever. 4 members of Team Secret die, and all they have to show for their efforts is 1 dead Rakan. Kratos is on the run. Hasmid is on the chase, but Saigon Buffalo will be ending this game right. And now 1 tower shot comes through. Kratos still on the run, but Hasmid is quicker than the Cassante, and I'm sure we'll be seeing Kratos dropping any second now. There he goes.
There it is.
It's the ace for Saigon Buffalo, and it is game 3 in our second series of the day.
And really good play to end the game. honestly, Saigon Buffalo didn't let them get close enough to the dragon to have it come down to an elder flip, even after you kind of destroy their base already. So Saigon Buffalo they know Team Secret have to come into the choke, and they instantly engage on them. Very good to see them working together. This time it was Guri and Taki, I think, who made the engage happen. Just the enemy team eviscerated on the spot. But I really liked this game. I thought it was pretty high quality between these two teams, back and forth, and Saigon Buffalo showing some of their potential. It was an easier composition for them to play compared to Secret. Secret tried something a little bit more special, a little bit more... Yeah, it was definitely harder to play, as we have a look at the stats, but you can't really fault them either. First game went their way, and now it all comes down to the wire to just one game between Secret and Saigon Buffalo, and probably their last chances of making it into the playoffs. They need to win the next game.
A very, very big game between Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret coming up. Make sure you don't go anywhere. We're going to head into a break, and we'll have our third and final game between Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret shortly. Welcome back, everyone, to the VCS English. We are heading into our first Game 3 of the day. Well, we've only had 2 series today, but here we go. Team Secret, Saigon Buffalo tied 1-1. And of course, it would be these two teams that are taking us to Game 3, old rivals from all of 2022. And for Team Secret, your way, we spoke about them last week, how bringing Kiang into the team really turned them around. And I guess the storyline for this series is Saigon Buffalo bringing in Guri to replace Beanjay has really turned around their performance.
Yeah, very confusing to see them start Beanjay again and then turn to Guri immediately after the loss. I would have expected the other way around, maybe, because Guri has been the starting jungler for the last few weeks. To have Beanjay start and then go back to Guri is just a little confusing, but you might argue that this is currently the better iteration of Saigon Buffalo, so they won with the better iteration, which means now it's on Secret. Do they swap back Hero? It might be back to Hero and Guri, the one we actually expected for Game 1, though I don't want to flame Kratos because I think he has been alright. Game 1 was actually really good. I think Game 2 was a quieter one. Kratos seems to be a player that doesn't really play too much for lane, so very different from Hero, who is very much about laning phase and then everything is worse afterwards, but his lane is insane. So maybe you want Hero back in for a little bit more laning power against the struggling Hasmid, but I think most of this game still comes down to the jungle matchup, because in Game 1, it was definitely Kiang who got the better of Beanjay, and Game 2 was definitely Guri who got the better of Kiang, so I'm interested to see what happens here in draft as we head over to that stage.
I want to say in particular, I don't think it was Guri who got the better of Kiang. I think it was Froggy who got the better of Team Secret as a whole, because that play towards the bottom side really just accelerated everything. Yes, there was that one play where Kiang tried to hold on to his flash, died, gave an early kill over to Guri, but aside from that, Froggy was just a huge driving force. It is still Kratos on the side of Team Secret, as we're just waiting for Saigon Buffalo to find their final ban. Team Secret giving a lot of respect over to Froggy's rise.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that one too. Interestingly enough, also banning away the Sejuani from the side of Saigon Buffalo. So now Gragas open for the first pick. You can see his win rate is still shit. He just won a game and it's still 24%, so it's really not that successful. I think Guri is the only jungler who has really found success on this champion. So now it's a big challenge for Kiang.
I just, coming into this game like, professional, and then you're like, yeah, the champion's shit.
No, not the champion, the win rate. It's a different
The win rate. Anyway, we once again got the Varus locked in. This time, though, the Jace is going to be on the side of Saigon Buffalo. And again, Team Secret looking for this Nautilus, which, I'm going to be honest, I love Zhu Hao, but he's looked a little bit sketchy on the champion.
Yeah, his best champions have always been the Enchanters, so a little bit sad to see him shy away from his best style of play. I think his laning on Lulu is so much better, his laning on Nami. But Zhu Hao, of course, the whole league likes to play Nautilus, so back to Nautilus, very risky, into the likes of Varus, who can one-shot him, and we're back to Jhin and Nautilus. Yay!
You must be absolutely loving it your way. Oh, please, Saigon Buffalo. Lock it. Lock it in. Oh, I'm also excited. I love to see a Blitzcrank. We've seen a couple of Blitzcranks already this season. I believe it's Ron OP who's had a couple of games on the champion. Did it get locked in?
Yes, there it is.
Yes!
Locked in now.
It has more than a 0% pick rate. It has been picked in the VC. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, that's 8.
There it is. There it is.
8% pick rate and a 43% win rate. So, doing well. And this is actually a conversation I was having on Twitter recently, which was about how well does Blitzcrank scale? Because people were saying, oh, Blitzcrank doesn't scale, well at all. But I believe that Blitzcrank's pretty good, because if you've got a single spell that can literally win you the game, I think that's pretty good for a late game.
Yeah, his scaling, you can't summarize his scaling or just generalize his scaling.
Yeah.
He's one of those champions that is so situational in all aspects of his gameplay that his scaling is just not definable. In some games, when the enemy team has 3 tanks or something, and you don't want to grab them in, then he's useless. In some games, he's the strongest champion on the map, because whenever you hit a grab, the game is just over. So, yeah, it's really hard to define. I think in this game, into Nautilus and Jhin, it already looks pretty spicy. So, I like this Blitzcrank a lot. It also means we actually went a game without picking Rakan. Every EU player and every caster and every analyst from the EU region would just scream at this one, because it's first pick worthy over there, so it's a very different read from the VCS teams.
I have another thing. A-Sol. A-Sol feels like a Froggy style of champion. Lots of roaming. I think it'd be cool. I'd love to see it be locked in. I've been saying this every single game on casting, but instead we might get Froggy Zac, which is also
It's locked,
very,
it's locked.
very
We don't
cool.
know where it's going, but it could be Froggy Zac. I love Zac.
It could also be Hardmid Zac as well. I mean, Zac top is viable, so there's a lot of flexibility for the side of Saigon Buffalo. We'll see what Team Secret want to be taking in the mid lane for Artifact and for Kiang. Kiang now with 4 different junglers under his belt. We'll see whether he wants to show us his fifth.
Also, actually, the Zac is so smart into the Jhin composition, because now the enemy team kind of has to pick a high DPS champion, because otherwise the Zac just gets to perma-sustain. So this forces the hand of Artifact, who probably has to pick something like this. Yeah.
I'd love it. With a Kennen, Gragas, Nautilus, there's a lot of knock-up potential.
Wombo combo, the Clash comp coming in.
Do it.
Yep, there it is.
Yes! Vega would be cool. If it does get locked in.
Yeah, I don't actually have any idea how Veigar would do into Yasuo, but this is more Froggy.
Galio would be very Froggy, and then you've got a big front line with the Zac and with the Galio, and the Zac buys time for the Galio to be able to jump in. However, this Cassante, I quite like it. And the reason why I like it is not because I like the Cassante, it's because this is Froggy saying to Artifact, hey, I'm going to play the Jace, and I'm going to show you how you play
No. This could be Cassante mid lane. We saw it in some leagues. It was played in LCK and in LCS.
Dear.
And this is into, the Yasuo. So I'm kind of feeling the Cassante mid lane here.
Cassante mid lane. It has been seen from time to time. I definitely recall seeing it. Has it been seen in the VCS?
No.
It has.
Yes? Oh, yeah, one game,
time
right.
played in the mid lane. Who do you think played it?
Must have been Carty, I think.
Nope.
No?
Even better.
Better than Carty. Froggy would be better than Carty, but I don't know.
Yes. Froggy. Froggy played it, and Froggy also lost. So it didn't go particularly well for Froggy on that occasion. I can't quite remember the game, so I don't know if it was a Froggy issue or just team issue because Saigon Buffalo were struggling. Actually, I can find out. So I'm going to have a quick gander and see who the game was against, and it doesn't want to tell me. So never mind.
So we have so many exciting champions to decide this one. Once again, to get you back to where we are in the standings, this is unbelievably important. This is not a throw-off game. This is not some start of the season or end of the season bullshit game where everyone just plays some useless champions. No, this can decide the fate of either of these teams. So these teams, they have come in and prepared something very spicy, and I want to see who overcooked and who found the perfect recipe.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that. The game of Cassante mid for Froggy was against Team Wales. Also, can we get some people in the chat just to record how many times Yulway swears? Oh, okay. Artifact forced to start the W to stop the Taki flash hook. I like it.
What do I get from for predicting that Cassante to be mid lane on first sight?
I'll let you draft for us in Clash later. But yes, very important game. And to go back to seriousness, I do really want to be seeing Taki running around the map, finding those big hooks. Because they can be huge. And also, let's talk about Kratos, because he's back on this Kennen. And we saw him having really good success on the Kennen in game 1. But now he's not against a melee champion. He's going up against Harsmed's Jace.
This is going to be exciting. Double ranged top laners. And Harsmed knows his way around the cannon, so once again...
don't bring that narrative up again.
Your favorite point, of course. This is already starting off with almost no HP on either side, and both went Duran's Blade, so this can be a very volatile start to the top lane. Whoever gets to force the enemy's teleport early can really call for jungler attention and make this top lane a living hell for the other top laner.
I'm also want to have a quick check. So we're going to play more Milky Mini games here, your way. How many games do you think Artifact has in his career on Yasuo?
6, 7, something like that.
It's a fun question, isn't it? 6, 7, 18.
18?
It is actually his 7th most played champion in his career.
Wow.
When those games were played, I don't know. I'm going to do a little bit of hunting to try to find out, but
No,
the
he has
guy is
definitely
very proficient.
He has definitely played the occasional Yasuo in the past. Like, it's not something that's the first time for him to play. He definitely played it a few times last year as well. I wouldn't have expected 18. That is quite a lot. But Guri is looking for his opportunity on Kratos.
He is. He has the Elastic Slingshot available. Is level 3. So
the
is
E-Burnt.
Kratos. And Kratos uses the Go Zappy, and now he's going to be susceptible. Flashes out of the stretching strikes and will be able to survive.
Actually, Flash Force is not as bad as Teleport Force in this case, I'd say. So in the 1v1, he should be fine still. Ooh, that was a close dodge. Shogun almost stunned up.
Okay, and something happened to Guri, and Qiang saying, "Howdy, I am the better jungler this game. First blood for Kratos."
Oh man, Hasmid is fuming with his jungler. First, the jungler is unable to bail him out of the top lane situation where he tried to trade his HP for a bait on Kratos. Then Kratos gets away with his flash, and Guri dies instantly to his top lane. So, Hasmid is very angry with the rookie in the jungle, and unfortunately, Qiang strikes first this time around, so gets a little bit of the better of Guri, at least at the start of the game.
And also something really important that I feel a lot of people forget. If you're able to get a kill on a Zac early, that's their passive gone as well, which removes a lot of potential to be able to do those pesky tower dives around the map.
Oh yeah, such a good diver because the passive plopping resets the tower aggro, right? So it's a little bit like not quite as good as Elise, but almost in the same vein as Elise. Kind of like Klett in some dive situations where you just automatically drop tower aggro. So that is out of the window now, and he's really far behind in terms of experience. He's only level 3. Guri probably resigned to a little bit of power farming in the next few minutes.
So I just had a quick look at Artifact's Yasuo. His 15 of his 17 Yasuo games were played in Season 8 and Season 9. And then he's had another couple of games, one in Season 12 last year and one back in Season 10. So he's not had many Yasuo games in the last 4 years.
That's fair. Of course, the long-standing mid laner, one of our biggest veterans of the league, and still dreaming of that final appearance, because in all his years in VCS and all his good appearances in his MVP split last year, he has never managed to make a single final. So that's still the one thing he wants to accomplish. Not even win the final, just get to a final. And maybe he can put his team on his back and make the first step towards a final, which would be getting into playoffs.
I mean, getting into playoffs definitely helps in an attempt to make it to finals. Team Secret, though, looking at a Drake, which is something that would help them win this game. And right now, Team Secret are the side with priority in the river, and Saigon Buffalo won't be able to contest.
Aki posturing. He wants it.
He does. Eddie is just being a little bit careful. And that's one big thing with Blitzcrank, is a lot of the time you want to bait out the hook, because if they don't land it, this time it does land onto Zuhao. A lot of damage can come through from the Deadly Flourish. Zuhao still alive, as the bouncing grenade not quite going to be enough to get a kill onto Taki. And Eddie now just trading onto Shogun. Has to be careful, doesn't have his fourth shot, able to sidestep the piercing arrow. Deadly Flourish won't land, and I was just wondering if Qiang would look for a potential dive, but he's just going to reset after securing the Drake.
It was definitely the playbook. It was on the cards to dive after the Dragon take, but of course the SGB bot lane doesn't let themselves get exposed that easily. Oh, Kratos, that was aggressive. Now Guri is here. No passive,
I think Kratos
remember?
knew what was coming. He was trying to turn this one around. Guri's only going to take one tower shot, and in comes a Froggy, cleans up the play, and picks up the kill.
How is Froggy everywhere all the time? Froggy is insane with his roams this series. He's back to roaming Froggy from 2021 maybe, but also keeping him up in CS, so it's kind of the evolved version of Froggy, and this is the one we want to see. This is the one where he can really be one of the best mid laners of the league.
I think Kratos knew what was coming, so I had to try to get through this wave as quickly as possible, and then yeah, not really much he can do against Froggy at the end.
Yeah, without Froggy he would have lived, so Kratos played it as well as he could. Guri kind of missing his E there was almost detrimental to the gank attempt, but fortunately bailed out by his mid laner Froggy coming in, saving the day, and with a kill in the mid lane might actually now be in a position to threaten solo kills on the likes of Artifact.
We'll see what Froggy can do on this Cassandra. I'm still just really excited to see Artifact on the Yasuo. It's my first time seeing him on the champion. We don't often see Yasuo games in the VCS. I think maybe the last time we saw it wasn't there that 0-10 Yasuo performance back last year in spring, I want to say?
I mean, he definitely played one game in summer, right?
It wasn't Artifact, though.
Artifact played one game
else.
in summer, though. Yeah, it wasn't the 0-10 performance. There were some jungle Yasuo performances from DNK back in the day. I think it was Winter Split, maybe.
Oh, yes.
That was a little crazy. He went jungle Yasuo back-to-back and actually performed super well. He carried one of those games. But yeah, it's not a champion we see a lot
of. I had 4 games back in spring 2022. We got engaged in the mid lane. In comes Guri flying in, knocked all away though from the exposed cast. And now Guri uses the ultimate himself. How much damage does Artifact have?
What is happening?
They get the kill onto Guri, but he goes back into his passive form. It's 2 kills for the side of Team Secret and 2 kills for Artifact.
That was the most confusing fight I've ever seen. I had no idea what was going on because Saigon Buffalo chained their CC so well together, but none of these champions deals any damage. So it looked cool, everyone bounced up and down, and the base damage was enough to bring them down to like 2 HP. But then nothing came of it. Nothing ever followed up, and 2 kills to the Yasuo. He's off to a great start. Milky, you might get your wish.
Oh, we might... Wait, what is my wish again?
A good Yasuo game, an exciting Yasuo performance.
Yasuo game.
Yeah.
But
look at all this
Yasuo
bouncing,
game.
all the
Still
CC.
Exciting.
This is completely crazy from Saigon Buffalo. They landed every CC they could. If there was any damage behind them, they could have cleaned up all 3 members, but unfortunately Blitzcrank doesn't deal any damage.
Taki, all he can do is really set up the play and then leave things at that. And I think this time we can agree that Blitzcrank is a playmaking support, no matter how you want to look at it. As Shuhao now looking for a play. Can he land a dredge line? No. But this time he's not actually at fault for it because Hasmed had a very nice flash.
Yeah, I think Hasmed agreed there that he can land the dredge line, otherwise he wouldn't have flashed away.
So I've done a bit of investigating. I'm having a lot of fun with looking at my stats. So last season in spring, there were 4 games of Yasuo. Wait, I had the data and all the data's gone now. It was No-Go who had a 0-8 performance though on the champion.
No-Go, not Nugu, right?
No-Go, Nugu, does it really matter? I believe we were making the joke that it was a no-go performance. Like, oh, Taki almost landing that dredge line.
Yeah, Froggy also immuning the Q there, Kyung, a little aggressive, but Guri, of course, is so far behind, he doesn't really want to fight at the moment, especially into the super strong Yasuo, set up by all the knockups on his side. Meanwhile, we haven't actually looked at bot lane at all, and there's no real reason to do so either. Double tier, double serrated Dirks, everyone just farming away, trying to play the game from as far away as possible. Varus against Jhin, very exciting matchup there, but instead, in the top lane river, we have the first objective fight of the game.
The Rift Herald being looked at again, Froggy very well timing the Unstoppable to stop the dredge line from pulling him in. Will Saigon Buffalo try to contest this Rift Herald resets, much to Team Secret's annoyance, which is going to give Saigon Buffalo some time to approach the river once more. And you can see the health bars not doing particularly well for the likes of Zhu Hao and Kiang. Once again, Rift Herald started. Taki just running around looking for a potential hook angle. Rift Herald surely will be secured unless Guri...
Oh, Guri?
Way flashes forward in an attempt to steal the Rift Herald. Unable to do so. Flashing forward is Zhu Hao. However, no potential follow-up coming in from Artifact. Zhu Hao will die. Guri, though, is very low. Kratos not able to find anything with the slicing Maelstrom. Just the 1 kill then for the side of Saigon Buffalo. Team Secret on the run, Artifact chunked down, but I think Team Secret were able to secure the Rift Herald.
Kind of even trade there. Kratos and Froggy had a little bit of a tete-a-tete on the bot side of the fight. No one cared about those two. They just had a little dance and then walked away from each other again. Cool. Top lane life, I guess. But in the end, it's a 1-4-0 in terms of kills for Saigon Buffalo, but the objective going over to Secret. So it all comes down to how they use this Herald later on. How did Guri not die? Just, very close fight there. Even gets hooked back in again. But of course, a lot of sustain behind this Zac Blobby passive, of course, where he gets all the HP back. And Saigon Buffalo should be in a good situation to at least fight for the next dragon. Team Secret utilizing that Herald very early on to get a little bit of pressure in the mid lane.
But Taki and Guri are here in the mid lane, so Team Secret might end up pushing too far forward. This is a 3v2. Guri, though, going to take the defensive way into the lane. Rift Herald will charge forward, and it was used by Artifact, so Kiang doesn't actually get any of the gold, or the gold going into Artifact's Yasuo.
Probably exactly where they want the gold to be. Because honestly, Kiang already has his item, and here we go again.
Really good dredge line coming through into the Fate Sealed from the Yasuo. Artifact gets the kill. Now looking towards Froggy, still 3 members here of Team Secret, but Shogun and Taki are making their way back into the fray, and Team Secret won't get overly aggressive.
Is it an MVP-worthy performance, Milky, today? Artifact finally come back.
Minutes in your way.
He's come back to life, though. None of the games so far in this season have been as impressive as this one, I'd argue. Artifact really playing together with his team, so much setup for him, but he's making it work. They all picked into the Yasuo-style composition, and the Yasuo is 3-0, so it's exactly what this team planned for. First 2 dragons into their back pocket as well, and now in a really solid early lead.
Gragas Yasuo can be absolutely devastating, especially when you add a Nautilus to it. And you can't even say that Team Secret don't have enough AP, because they do have Kratos on the Kennen, who had a very, very good performance in Game 1. Although here in Game 3, Harsmed seemingly has the edge over Kratos in this particular matchup.
Well, it was pretty even throughout the laning phase, and he has a 1 kill behind him. So he should still be that late-game teamfighting menace that he was in the first game, where the game was decided with a split pushing into teleporting into the fight. So that could very well happen again. 36 minutes, I believe, was the timer for that deciding fight. This could happen even earlier this time around, because Team Secret is in such a good position with the accelerated artifact on the Yasuo. He's gonna hit 1 item, and we all know 1-2 items on the Yasuo, that's a scary power spike.
Very scary. Froggy, though, has been able to complete his first item, actually somehow ahead of... Okay, that's because Artifact has picked up a Vampiric Scepter, so kind of itemizing for different things. One thing that I do like about Kratos' Kennen, compared to Game 1, is the Rocket Belt, because that just means that you've got more mobility on the Kennen, and it gives you more ability to get into the backline compared to when you went with the Riftmaker.
Yeah, it tells me that he doesn't look to split push as much, which makes a lot of sense, because this time it could be Yasuo in the side lane instead of the Cannon, and the Cannon is much more geared towards team fighting with extra mobility. Oh, that was too far away from the Yasuo ultimate.
And the rocket grab from Taki almost lands onto Kiang, so just slightly whiffed spells from both Team Secret and Saigon Buffalo, as Froggy's just having some free time in the bottom lane to hit on an outer tower. This would be the first tower of the game. No towers have yet been taken here in Game 3.
Okay, Mulkey, now I need to quiz you on something, because this was a huge debate the last week when Zeka, the world champion, talked about Yasuo. I'm not sure, did you follow this discussion?
No.
You didn't? I thought so. So, Zeka was interviewed after playing a Yasuo game where he had 10 kills or something, and there was a certain instance in the game where something happened that he didn't expect to happen, which was related to his ultimate. So, Milky, what happens for Yasuo players, or how do you play Yasuo? How does Yasuo ultimate work when there are 2 separate targets that are both knocked up at the same time, but not close enough together so you can both ult them at the same time? So say Varus is left side of the tower and Hasmet is on the right side of the tower, and both get knocked up at different abilities. How does Yasuo ultimate work in that instance?
See, I would have... Does it go on to the lowest health target?
You need to decide. You can decide yourself, actually.
Oh, okay. Dredge line, though, lands as Kratos just having a look at a potential flank angle. The first tower of the game will be secured by Team Secret. But to go back to your point, Milway, the Yasuo gets to decide who he goes on.
Yeah, you can hover your mouse over the target you want.
Okay. Yeah,
and
that makes sense. Yeah.
Decker didn't know this. So in one of the instances in the game, he actually ulted the wrong target, and afterwards was interviewed about that and was like, "I had no idea." And he had 10 kills in that game, in a professional game in Korea, actually against Damwon, I believe, or DK, I should say. So
just got knocked out as well.
Yeah, it happens. Pro player don't know everything. So let's see if Artifact gets to replicate that very funny instance.
Well, you say that, but you remember back to 2019 Worlds where Doonby played Malphite, never had a game on Malphite, was reading what the champion's abilities did as he got into game, and apparently he only picked the champion because his wife liked Malphite and wanted a world skin on it.
Yep.
It's wholesome as hell, isn't it?
It's very wholesome. And did they win the game? I don't remember.
Yeah, they
probably
I
did,
think
right?
They did. Somehow. I don't think it was in finals. It was probably in. Was
Group
it in?
stage? Yeah.
It could have been in group stage, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Probably played it against one of those bad LCS teams.
Probably against GAM, honestly.
Yeah, it could have been. Was FPX in the same group as
Yeah,
GAM?
they were.
19?
Yep.
Oh. Fair enough.
It was back when Kiaya tried to play Klett into the Klett master himself in mid lane and got absolutely demolished. But back to our game, because those times are fortunately behind us. Kiaya is back to his realm in the top lane. And speaking of top laners, the Cannon is looking to go full AP this time around. I want to see him go highest AP build possible and just destroy Shogun in the backline. As we group up for Dragon number 3, Team Secret in a really good position to accelerate this game towards a soul.
But let's not forget, Taki, if you can find those big hooks, if you can land a hook, particularly onto Artifact, it could completely turn a fight. If you can land a hook onto Eddie, that would also be absolutely massive for him.
At the moment, both teams just posture and looking for the opportunity. Both teams have so much engage potential. And with Guri this far behind, he needs to be very careful at picking his fights, especially against the Yasuo wind wall. Oh, double support combat.
He goes forward, but the dredge line that lands into the explosive cast. Taki knocked up, taken down. And Artifact still has an ult, and on he goes onto Guri. No way out, surely, for Guri. Tries to flash away, but Artifact will flash in pursuit. 2 kills for Team Secret, and the jungler down for Saigon Buffalo.
That's the 5th kill of the game for Team Secret, and all 5 of them in the hands of Artifact. Artifact is putting on an all-star performance in this game. Actually the 6th kill, so I was lying to you. But I think all 6 kills are on Artifact anyway, so now that's 3rd Dragon. They're so far ahead in gold, actually much further ahead than I expected at this point in the game, and they're running away with the game. Saigon Buffalo's not finding any openings.
Attempted flash hook. I don't even think it would have worked. It would have landed onto Kiang, which is probably not the best possible solution
Reeks
if
of
you are Saigon
desperation.
Buffalo.
Really reeks of desperation. They just don't know what to do, how to penetrate this solid team composition from Team Secret. They need to disrupt this setup for the Yasuo, kind of get on top of the main carry, but how do you do that against Yasuo W, against all the protection, all the disengage and counter-engage from Team Secret, and it's getting harder and harder.
5-0 for Artifact. Kiang 0-0-6. So Kiang is the only one with 100% kill participation right now, as there was that 1 kill, I believe, on the top side of the map, which Artifact could, sadly for him, not be a part of.
Yeah, but he is just having such an amazing game. And I want to go back to one of our talking points from even before the series started, which is Young's way to facilitate his team, or just Kyung's identity as a rookie jungler, because he's really not looking like a rookie jungler. He's the facilitator, no. He's the one setting up his mid laner, and Artifact is the long-standing mid laner. You talked about him playing Yasuo back in 2018. Young was probably like 12 years old back then, right? So it's insane to see this combo work like this. The new player playing the facilitating role, playing the solid champions, the setup champions, and the old boomer with the withered hands actually putting in the performance that carries his team.
Another engage coming through into a dredge line, and this just looks absolutely devastating. The slicing maelstrom locks Froggy in place. 2 kills already for the side of Team Secret, and they aren't done. Yeah, how does that dredge line land? Where was this performance from Suhao in Game 2? But somehow Saigon Buffalo find themselves 2 kills, so it is only 2 kills for 2?
Yeah, actually a winning fight for Saigon Buffalo off the back of Hasmid power spiking on these items right now. Not really looking at his items, but just finding a really good Q onto two of the squishy targets. Young and Shu Hao going down to Hasmid. Let's see this one again. Maybe a little bit of over-focus on two of the not-so-important targets, with Froggy and the Blitzcrank going down at the start, and Guri buys so much time for the poke to land from Saigon Buffalo. Somehow Zhu Hao and Qiang, yeah, that's just a double poke landing. That was the first rotation, if you think back to draft. They picked Varus Jace as their first rotation, and for the first time in this game, we see some of the potential of this combination. Just overwhelming poke from such a long range, and Hasmid suddenly slingshotted into a decent position. Can the veteran on the side of Saigon Buffalo, the longest standing member, maybe do something against the veteran on the other side?
But this is still a 4k goal lead for the side of Team Secret, and that was still 2 kills for nothing until they got way too aggressive and bit off far more than they could chew. Team Secret still on the precipice of picking up a Cloud Soul as well. And Cloud Soul for Kratos on a Kennen, probably one of the best champions to have Cloud Soul on.
For sure, it's so good. I mean, it's good on every champion, right? Because they offer the 15% movement speed. It's really hard
but
to...
But not Jhin.
It doesn't even matter about the ultimate activation. I'm talking about the base movement speed you get for the rest of the game. It's so insane. People just never respect the movement speed, and it's such an insanely strong stat in the game. So it's just very good to reposition. Of course, look at the Yasuo. He's already sprinting across the map, so more movement speed will enable even better split pushing and rotations. I think Cloud Soul is almost always a really, really good one. And ultra late game, you can even sell boots when you have the Cloud Soul because of the extra movement speed, but we're very far away from that point.
There's something also really funny about seeing Prowler's Claw on a Jhin. Eddie once again going for this lethality Jhin build, just like he did, I believe, in game 1, where it worked out relatively successfully, although this time Artifact is very clearly the carry for the team 5-0 on this Yasuo. And again, remembering back to 2021, I believe it was Karti on the Yasuo who had a really, really good performance. I think he went something like 8-2. In that particular game, and Artifact looking to replicate a performance similar to the GAM mid laner.
And he went very defensive in terms of itemization, double lifesteal into now stopwatch as well, so not quite as high in the damage department as he could be with an IE early on. If he ever gets caught out, and they can somehow kill him, then the tides could turn, and it's all about overcommitting into the backland, how Saigon Buffalo plays the kiting game, because right now Team Secret is so far ahead that even though their composition could also kite back, it's probably on them to initiate the fight. So I'm keeping my eyes glued onto my screen and looking at Artifact, and if he ever oversteps, then this game could suddenly turn into Saigon Buffalo's direction again.
And this is a critical point in the game. Cloud Drake is up, sole point for Team Secret. Kratos has just had to go and catch a wave in the bottom lane, making his way up. We know how big the Slicing Maelstrom can be, but we also know for Saigon Buffalo and for Taki, that rocket grab, if he can find Artifact, if he can find Eddie, that will be absolutely devastating for the side of Team Secret. Froggy looking for a potential flank, but Kratos is just watching it. Dredgeline lands on it to Taki, and Froggy's not going to be able to join this because Kratos is just guarding. Taki has fallen, but so has the Shu Hao. A 1-for-1, both supports falling. Shogun on to half health as in comes Froggy looking for the engage, and down goes Qiang. The jungler has fallen for the side of Team Secret. Artifact forced to flash over the wall. Saigon Buffalo win the fight in Saigon Buffalo, get the Drake.
Somehow they found the angle. And look at Artifact. Artifact was not really a factor. He has to be very careful into those frontliners that have so much CC between them, because he's essentially an ADC, right? Look at his HP bar. He's very squishy. Very good exhaust there from Taki on his dying breath. Just delaying Artifact, and Shogun ever so slightly walking out of range. A game of inches, but in the end, the coordination was not quite there. Qiang probably needs to shout at Artifact there, I'm gonna ult Shogun, because if Artifact steps a little bit closer to the enemy ADC, he can ultimate on top of Shogun, eliminate the enemy ADC, and probably play from the other side of the fight. It's gonna be much harder for Saigon Buffalo to deal with that. I want to see better coordination between Qiang and Artifact, because I think there was the second ultimate there where Qiang threw it out and Artifact could have been able to get on top of the enemy target, but he just walked away at the crucial moment just before Qiang acted. So better communication between mid and jungle should still lead to a Team Secret victory.
Something else as well about the fight is it was very reminiscent of Game 1 in the sense that another fight that was close that Saigon Buffalo won at the start of the mid-game, but Kratos did not use his Slicing Maelstrom. So a large portion of the damage of the utility that Team Secret have available to them wasn't actually used in that fight. And I think if it does get used, things could go a lot better for Team Secret. The Yasuo, though, still strong. Saigon Buffalo slowly starting to claw their way back into the game, still about 4,000 gold behind Team Secret. Do they want to look for a potential fight over the Baron, or do they just wait 3 minutes for the next Drake to spawn?
That's a good question, and I think even though the 4k gold, we can see them as casters, and just looking at the overlay, this game I don't think feels like a 4k gold lead for Saigon Buffalo, or even for Secret, because a lot of the gold is actually hidden behind champions that might not need as much gold. Look at the Zac. We can't see individual gold to the disadvantages, but Zac should probably be about 1.2k, 1.5k gold behind his counterpart on the Gragas. And in terms of effectiveness in team fights, 1.5 items on Zac is probably as good as Gragas and 2 items, especially the AP Gragas. So that's a lot of the gold lead, kind of eliminated just by champion identity. Same goes for the mid lane. Of course, the Yasuo is gonna be a bigger impact champion than K'Sante if he plays everything well, but his items are super expensive, and 2 items on K'Sante makes him rather tanky already. So I think Saigon Buffalo, in terms of team fighting power, is actually closer than what the game would suggest.
Artifact looking towards Froggy again. Qiang sitting nearby, has the explosive charge available, or explosive cask available. Explosive charge, that's a Tristana ability. But no way in for Team Secret, and the Team Secret mid-jungle duo are going to have to make their way back over to the mid lane, otherwise Saigon Buffalo will have an angle to start up the Baron Nashor.
I'm just keeping one eye on Hasmid, because secretly he has accelerated so far ahead of this counterpart in the top lane. Look at his itemization. Now, he has so much ability haste, he has a lot of combos ready, he can poke for ages, and he's also not very susceptible to counter engages or even side laning into Kratos. So I feel like Hasmid could be the secret ingredient to turn around this game with all the damage behind him.
And we saw that coming into effect. Hasmid and Shogun together, so much poke can take so much health out of any member of Team Secret if both the empowered shock blast and the empowered piercing arrow land at the same time. But for now, Team Secret just going to keep on catching waves, and it does look like the plan for both teams is to fight once again over the Cloud Drake.
This one could be Soul for Secret. Every single Cloud Drake that comes up could be the Soul. But it also delays the game. It makes things more even. A 4k gold lead at 20 minutes is a different thing than a 4k gold lead at 30 minutes. And at 40 minutes, the 4k gold lead doesn't matter at all. So it's getting closer and closer in terms of items. The breakpoints are hit on Saigon Buffalo's side, and I think they feel confident to fight once again. They would like to have Hasmid split push a little bit more menacingly in the top side. I think they want him to hit the tower, but he also needs to be careful. If he dies, suddenly the game opens up for Secret to just win instantly and slam the door on them.
I think something else very important to mention is the fact that Artifact can play a lot more aggressively now. Has a Guardian Angel, which gives him that second life, so even if he does play aggressive, gets caught out, steps into whatever it is, it won't be devastatingly bad for Team Secret, and Team Secret can still perform well in a fight. They're now looking towards the Baron Nashor. Keep your eyes on Kratos, searching for this big flank angle. Might come across Hasmid in a sec. Doesn't get hit by the shock blast. Hasmid doesn't know that Kratos is there, that the top laners will duke it out. Kratos is forced to use the rocket belt, and the Baron is down to 5,000 health. Guri has been able to steal one Drake away already. Slicing Maelstrom now used on Hasmid.
That's a huge team fighting tool gone.
Kratos. 2 fights happening at the same time. Hasmid forced to flash out of the play. This means it's a 5v4 in favor of a Team Secret, but the engage comes through, and in goes Artifact. Zhuhao has already fallen, but how much damage does this Yasuo have? Guri is low, so is Froggy. Hasmid resetting and teleporting into the play. Saigon Buffalo will win the fight. They get 1 kill for nothing. The Baron, though, cannot be started. Team Secret, though, can't get to the Drake.
They're starting to win the fights, Milky. Hasmid really, the top lane difference makes such a huge, it has such a huge impact in this game, as Kratos is forced to ult just defensively to get away from Hasmid, and suddenly Saigon Buffalo are able to just get map priority over the top side. This also means they're first on the bot side. Look at them, just running at the dragon. That's dragon number 2, taken away from Secret. They're not able to get the soul quickly. The Elder Dragon is not spawning either, so the game is delayed. And the all-important decision of who wins this series, who keeps their chances of making players, is delayed once more.
And right now, there's going to be so much pressure on Artifact. He had such a big lead, 5-0 on this Yasuo, but seemingly unable to convert the advantage. And when you're in this situation as a player, it's got to be so difficult, because you know that you are the win condition for your team, but you're not finding the angles. Either you don't have the setup you feel you need, you can't find the damage, you're not feeling confident enough, and every single fight you lose, it gets worse and worse and worse. Xu Hao on the flank, he's spotted out by a ward. He's probably looking for a way to get on top of Hazmed or Shogun. The Baron down to 2,000 health. Xu Hao coming over the wall. This might be a smite fight as well. Xu Hao into the backline with a slicing maelstrom. One goes down. This might be the fight that Team Secret need. The curtain call, looking for Shogun out of the cone. Artifact though is low.
Dead.
Still has a Guardian Angel available. No, he doesn't. He's down. 3 kills for 1 for Saigon Buffalo, and once again, Saigon Buffalo win the fight.
Saigon Buffalo are just better in teamfights in this game, and the enemy team just can't find their key to victory. Artifact is just not able to carry like an ADC from behind. He has to commit into the enemy team. And the enemy team has so many tanks to buy so much time to knock him up constantly. They're trying to push for the game. It's the delay of the recalls on the other side. How is that?
Stopping backs. Eddie had to flash over the Baron Pit wall, but Guri just went over the wall. Now duking it out with Eddie. Team Secret.
No way!
Saigon Buffalo will end Team Secret's hopes of getting a run going. 2-1. Saigon Buffalo take their 4th win of the split and take 5th place in the VCS Spring Split standings.
I can't believe it. What? How? Yasuo was 5-0 in the early game. He had 2 items when other people were barely scratching their first item. This is unbelievable. What team fighting prowess, and also what mental resilience in this kind of situation. You come into the season as the heavy favorites, maybe for title or maybe 2nd place, but definitely is one of the best teams, staying together after Worlds and MSI appearances on the side of Saigon Buffalo. You come in, you falter, you lose the first series against Team Secret, 3-5. It looks pretty devastating, and then Team Secret stomps you in game 1, and game 3 looks pretty bad. It's out of your control. Enemy Yasuo is 5-0, and they keep resilient. They keep pressing on. They keep finding the fights, and they walk away victorious.
And now Saigon Buffalo in a very good spot to be able to contest with Team Worlds and SBTC, just 1 series behind. Meanwhile, Team Flash, Team Secret, 1 series behind Saigon Buffalo. They still have the possibility of making playoffs, but with 5 series left, they really need all of the other results to go in their favor. They need Box Esports to be able to take some series off the likes of SBTC and Team Wells. Very, very good performance from Saigon Buffalo. And to be honest, it did feel like a draft diff in that game. I mean, Taki didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, look at the damage numbers. It doesn't look like Saigon Buffalo won this game. If you just look at the stats, almost everything is in favor of Team Secret, apart from maybe the turret stat. Obviously, Saigon Buffalo just pushed down all the turrets as they won the game. But there was essentially just one push that eliminated 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 towers at in one go, and Drake's is in favor of Secret, kills is absolutely even, and the damage is all in favor of Secret. So yeah, if you look at the goal difference, it's all a steady line for Secret until they lost their first teamfight at about 25 minutes, and then suddenly doubts crept in, and Saigon Buffalo continued to just smash teamfight after teamfight after teamfight.
The weird thing is, that was a 5-0 Yasuo who did less damage than the 006 Gragas, the Kennen, the Jin. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Importantly, in all the team fights, Taki, even when he died, he was always able to get that all-important exhaust onto the Yasuo. So most of the time, Artifact actually had to fight 4 seconds, exhausted, looking pretty weak, having to kite away. So that was a really good awareness, shown from Taki. In the end, Yeah, so we see why he's picked so little. It's so hard to make him work, even with all the setup, even with this great early advantage. Though I do have to say, I feel like when you want to snowball a game, you should probably go for the highest damage items there, because if he has that IE early in the game, and is maybe able to get on top of Shogun and just one-shot him, maybe even go to Froggy afterwards, who knows, maybe that actually is the angle to win the game there.
Well, for Team Secret, after a very impressive performance against SBTC last week, they take a series loss. And Saigon Buffalo looked very good, particularly in Game 2, Game 3. Again, great resilience to drag themselves back in. A fantastic series all around. But for myself in Yulway, that is all. And the VCS English will be back tomorrow with 2 more series coming your way. So from all of us here at the VCS English, stay tilt-proof on the Rift, and goodbye.